Hey everyone, welcome! If you heard what I said a second ago, you did not hear that. Anyway, we are now going to be discussing the Rulemakers banner that has just released a few days ago. Joining me today is Harvey Kais.
Hey, yo, it's me.
Always good to have you, dude. And joining us again is Zalgus.
Hello, I'm currently having internet issues, so if I suddenly disconnect, don't mind that.
Yeah, this is a very fortuitous stream where one of us is having internet issues and the other two have gone to abscond and make out. Rest in peace, Irby and Milk, bound by the shackles of matrimony. Anyway, let's go on. We will be covering the topic starting with the Date Quest campaign content that released previous to this campaign. So we will be starting off with the ARs, the 3-star ARs, beginning with the Shino Marchosias one. Go ahead, Zalgus.
Pretty based if you ask me.
Go ahead. We are asking you.
Sorry, I had to scroll up in my notes. Right, so the Shino Marchosias AR. It's definitely a 3-star AR with all that carries. It's got a pretty underwhelming effect. Obstruct is on the less common side of debuff to inflict, and it's one of the ones that challenge quests are usually immune to. I say usually because sometimes it's allowed, but in the more difficult ones, enemies will usually be immune to stuff like obstruct. So it's not a particularly useful advantage to have. Also, it's just a measly 1.2x boost, so that's not a whole lot to gain anyway. The weapon vigor isn't useful either because it's likely a low-level vigor and the rate is questionable anyway. If you did happen to max out the AR, it would actually be a pretty good effect. 2-turn vigor at full strength on whoever you like. Well, AR restrictions notwithstanding, but that's only for turbo whales, so no point in really discussing that. I wouldn't say slash and thrust are really the best types if you really wanted to maximize that, but I mean, I don't think there's any point in discussing that. The real most important part of this AR is that she AR after the first set of ARs launched, and he had a launch AR, and he looks very cute, very round. I like him. Also, Marchosias is there too, I guess. This is also his second AR.
The audience may notice that Zalgus decided to refrain from giving his full thoughts on Marchosias because that is all his thoughts. He has no thoughts on him.
What, did that part get cut out or what? I didn't say anything for that, really.
Yeah. By the way, you're roboting a bit, but I think everyone understood you for the most well, and really, so I understood you enough. Yeah.
Marchosias is there too, I guess.
Cool, thanks, Zalgus. Yeah, at level 1, it's like 1.2 and then 1.2 again, so that's like almost nourishment tier damage, like the first 2 turns.
Oh my god, why are we talking about the CIR? Can we just move on? It's a fucking useless AR. It's only good for, like, whales. Who cares? Let's just go. Jeez, let's just go.
I'm just saying, it's like, okay, if you like have the setup for it.
I know everyone misses being on discussion, but let's not pretend this is real content. Let's just go on to the next topic, jeez. We will not be doing the chat until the very end because there's like barely any for ARs. Who cares? Literally, who cares? We're going to talk about Teda and Marduk now. And this AR is what's it called? What are my notes on this? It heals a bit the allies adjacent whenever the unit equipping this attacks at a very low rate for a very low amount of heal, and it has a resistance to all range, which could be useful. It's pretty much just like what Bigfoot has in terms of the exact same multiplier. So, in other words, not useful, but you can pretend it's useful by stacking with Taishakuten. And yeah, you can look up this on healers or large range attackers so that they can increase their healing even more, and so that you can get as much even more rolls with this AR as possible. But really, you probably just want to avoid using this AR for the most cases.
It's bad.
I will avoid using it.
Well, Marduk looks better here than at least in his base art.
That's not a high bar. Also, Teda looks like... Okay, do you see like the point of like where Tita's arm kind of looks like it's actually attached to like Marduk's arm?
Oh no,
it looks
no,
like
I can't
a
see
fucking
it.
abomination.
It looks like fucking an AI made it. What happened there? I don't know what's happening there. Okay, well, I'm gonna pretend
I think
didn't
that's
see
just them looking similar in shade, and the little flame blocking it is obscuring where it would make it obvious that it's not actually his arm.
That's what happens when I look at porn sometimes. I'm just like, which part is which? But then I just turn off my brain. So turn off your brain. We're moving on to the next topic. We will now be talking about this AR. I can't believe whose topic is this? Okay, this actually, I have the order mixed up, I believe. So this one is going to be by me, Jiraiya, and Goemon. I believe that's next on the list. Is that correct? Actually, forgot to write everyone's orders.
Yeah, that's you.
Yeah, I would prefer to talk about the other one, but whatever. Alright, so this AR, it does a bit of healing, again, to allies up in front and behind at a slightly less worse rate, but still pretty awful, and also still piss for all healing. And it does some amount of charge fill to allies left and right for an even lower rate, for a very tiny amount for every hit. So, again, you know, you may want to take advantage of this with someone with large range, or someone who already charge fills or heals. But otherwise, like, don't use this AR. It's very low rate, not very reliable.
I mean, I've seen worse rates than that, which is not a compliment.
That's true, but like, I don't think this is good enough to be worth remembering for the most. I mean, I guess
This is like the most nothing AR ever.
This is supposed to be a 4-star, right? Somehow.
Yeah, and like not even the art is like that appealing in my opinion.
He hates Goemon.
I mean, this is honestly the best looking Goemon in terms of AR art, since he always looks uncanny in the other ones.
Yeah, but fucking Jiraiya's there.
I know, it's Jiraiya, it's like...
And he's the AR icon, so, you know, double whammy of bad.
Just pretend you don't see. Sorry, what's called Goemon fans. I'm not sorry to Jiraiya fans, though. Anyway, let's not use this AR. However, I will be monitoring what Harvey says, and I will be finding his IP address if he does not talk a decent amount about, not this AR, but the Tsukuyomi Ibaraki AR. So go ahead.
That's pretty rude. I don't have any notes on anything for the stream. Just they're all in my head right now.
Notes are beneath him.
Yeah. So this AR has two effects. So the first one is bestowing nourishment to allies when your unit hits something. This effect is okay for whales, but at level 1, it's like pretty non-existent. The second effect, which is the actual important effect, is the turn start darkness resistant that it bestows to the unit and allies adjacent. And this happens every turn start at an 80% base rate. So this is a pretty good tech card against darkness specifically, but it's also pretty useful if you need like an additional after buff proc for any like HQs that where you really want to get like a CS effect or something. Other than that, I don't have any other thoughts on this. It's a pretty decent AR for a 4-star. I don't really care about the art too much.
Yeah, just
these two characters are like
nothing
to me.
They decided to put Bishi in this game for some reason to appeal to the Fujoshi. Anyway,
I mean, I think that Ibaraki is interesting enough there, but Tsukuyomi's just kind of there.
He's doing the fucking Maui face again. What is with these Bishi icons always doing the fucking Maui emoji?
Probably be Moai also.
Moai, Maui, whatever.
It's probably just because he's got like really chiseled features on his face, like, you know how like yaoi or stuff like that is very stereotypically very angular.
Anyway, I don't actually want to talk about the art directly because I am actually more impressed than Harvey is with the effects. But, you know, it's pretty much what he said. I just think since I've been playing around with after buff effects, it's pretty useful. The thing is, it's such an impressively high rate and it's every turn. I think there's only exactly one other AR that can give you a buff every turn. And that's also like not a super great rate, I believe. It's the attack up AR with featuring Kurugane that gives you an attack up stack every turn. And I think that's the only source where you can really get a buff every turn. But this one's nice because it not only buffs themselves, but it's also buffing allies adjacent. So you don't necessarily need to equip this on a unit who has those after buff effects to take advantage of this AR. And there's many examples of who can directly equip it, such as Inova, of course, the quintessential sort of team buffing unit besides Musashi. Yanman Gundr, Kagutsushi. Can he equip this? I think he can. No, he can't. Well, anyways, they don't have to equip it, like I said. And of course, there's Masashi, who can also benefit from this. And Ulaanbaatar, apparently he has that effect too. Well, I was looking through the list. He does indeed charge fill his allies at a really short rate. And then also, Loki can directly benefit from this and can equip it, since he has a massive 20 CP for every buff he receives. And if you are still living in like the dinosaur stone age, you can equip this on Kasuga, I guess. And this can also be good for Ulaanbaatar, his Oeda variant for Christmas, because he can get his charge up a bit faster. It's not great for him because that effect is not great. But suffice to say, there's like a good amount of units that could benefit from this. And, there's a few units that could actually benefit from the nourishment as well, too. Anyone with nourishment strengthening, of course, such as the Ashigara, who for some reason can't refresh his own. And there's also Sabutsuhiko, since he bizarrely does not actually bestow nourishment despite having nourishment strengthening given to allies. And I believe Gabriel also. You can also pair this with in the same team as the other AR that gives nourishment strengthening, the Shilotl or Q Kamui one. But yeah, there's a good amount to use with this AR.
I think you should use it with Shiva.
Would that work?
The joke is that you shouldn't do that.
Yeah, because of his darkness meme thing, whatever. I think I looked him up earlier, but he can't even equip it. His 3-star can, but I guess you could put him aside if you want to do that stupid meme.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like you were saying, units like Masashi and stuff. So, yeah. But yes, don't use it with like Summer Shiva, because that will mess up his whole darkness to stop his CS from going off. So mind who you use it with in the rare instances where darkness is relevant.
There is another turn start buffing AR, but it's selfish and it's also a 5-star. It's the Festival Licho Ryota Ketchi one that gives you an attack up effect.
It's like the reversed ramping one. Oh, I guess it's for the first 5 turns only, but yeah, there are very few and far in between, and all tied to like 5 stars, and also not necessarily the greatest rates. So this is kind of fairly like relatively busted compared to our current options for ARs if you want an after buff effect. So definitely, out of all the ARs, I'd say this is the best one. Spoilers about the next ones coming up, which are the 5 stars. If that's it, then we can move on to the next topic. Let's move this quick. And we will move on to this batch, which is featuring a pair of characters that everyone loves, Nobuharu and Ifrit. Go ahead, Harvey Kais.
Thanks for giving me these characters that I adore so much. This is like the opposite of the last AR, where the last one was like good at level 1. If you don't wheel for like dupes of this, it's like pretty shit. So phase start, HP loss reversal to yourself and allies at an 80% rate, and it's in an adjacent range. This is strictly worse than that one seed AR with Turing and Isaac, because that one bestows it in a square round. So yeah, this is a worse range and also a worse rate because you can't easily max it. Other effect is that it bestows concentration to the unit before hitting. So yeah, if you don't get dupes with this, concentration is not going to be doing a whole lot other than giving you an additional 10% proc rate. But I guess it can stack with like that one concentrationing, strengthening AR. Yeah.
Not really.
No thoughts. No thoughts on the art itself. Because
there should be no thoughts. Turn off your thoughts.
Suck.
Thank you, Harvey.
The art style makes it look like they look the same age.
I mean, we don't know what age they are, I guess.
But yeah, I mean, I think the concept, like, even just as a stat or a skill rate booster, I think concentration is nice enough. But yeah, that bit rate is pretty trash. I mean, I guess the HP loss reversal is okay, but I forget. Didn't the Turing AR already do that?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Harvey just said that. Is everyone forgetting it just because no one farms seeds? Seriously, it's a good AR with a strong effect that's guaranteed encircling all around.
Yeah, so not a unique effect, so definitely not really worth going for.
And that's like the best effect it has too. It's like strictly worse than the existing one. The concentration, I think, is just like you're not going to use it offensively unless you're hyper well, and even then it's not reliable then. So most likely, you might want to use this for tanks, if anything, so that they can hit lots of units and get concentration, and then maybe have a higher rate for whatever evasion or tenacity or bullshit they have during their defensive turn. Not great.
I guess you can use this with the Turing AR on like wide maps if you want to give everyone on your team HP loss reversal. But usually you just need that status on like one person.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And it doesn't really account for random positioning either because it's only adjacent. Unlike the actual invaders one, so that AR. I like how fast we're going with this. Alright, moving on to the final AR. Sorry, what?
That isn't in that AR, what are you talking about?
Sorry, what?
That isn't in that AR, what you talking about?
Oh, shut up. Alright, we are going to be talking about Hombre, Tigre, and Shennong. Go ahead, Zalgus.
Alright. So, yeah. Not a particularly stellar AR. As you say, the 4-star is probably the best one. So, minor phase start heal all around. It's 100% at least, so it could be used to augment pre-existing phase start heal effects, but 500 is such a low amount that I really don't think it's worth it to do such a thing. The other effect, Guts Before Being Attacked, at a 10% rate is a bit of a meme. I guess it's supposed to be like Hombre Tigre, some of Hombre Tigre's Guts effect, where he has Guts Before Being Here, letting Guts tank forever, but that gets augmented by his personal kit. This is just 10%. In theory, you could survive indefinitely if you just keep triggering Guts, but at 10% to 20%, it's really not worth it. You might put on a tank who takes many hits, so you can at least get one Guts, or perhaps heal them up after Guts, and their tankiness ensures they'll take a few hits to try again and trigger it again. But really, it's all very pointless. You're better off just bringing either a more reliable source of Guts, or just shoring up their defenses even more instead. Someone like Horus 5 or Summerpool Smoky God have 90% rate on their Guts, so this 90% or a 10% rate is kind of pointless in comparison. So yeah, not very good effects. The art is cute. We have another Tigre AR that doesn't look hideous. Besides that free one with the Asuri, that one was alright. The other two Tigre ARs are hideous.
This AR is kind of mid. That's very mid, honestly. You're only going to want to use this, for example, if you're bringing Gurren Gotch or something, if you want to roll for Guts for some reason in that way. But then you're using Gurren Gotch and you're setting up yourself for a lot of liabilities. I'm not saying he's a bad unit, he's a very fun unit, but it's also very dangerous to use him. And what's it called? The days of turns coming are over, so you're not going to be re-rolling for this by resetting the game or anything like that. You're just not, unless maybe you're Zalgus or something. Unless you're Zalgus here. And the low face start heal is super kind of unimpressive. It's just barely, not even one tick of regeneration or healing, something like that. So maybe you'll want to combine it with something like some other phase start increased recovery effect, such as from Kabukicho Night Festival Ellie or Oedo Gangle. It's a phase start heal, and that's kind of my least favorite timing when it comes to heals, but if you think otherwise, then you might want to amplify that effect. I wouldn't, but it's an option. Okay, we're done with the Rs. Yeah, go ahead and read out the chat. I don't know who's going to read out the chat this time. I'll read out the chat, sure.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think it's a good idea for me to do it.
Yeah, sure. Hey, Lynn. Cute kitty. Hello to everyone. Hi. Yo, art is very good, but the effect is just here to tease Marchosias art later this year. Trust me, bro. Of course. Marchosias and fans and an infinite supply of copium. Best for favorite Wolf Knight father. My phone is dripping Marchosias content. I wonder why he hasn't really gotten a second variant edit, since I don't think his artist is AWOL. I wanted the 3-star ARs just for the art. The Tigre Marduk AR just because they are both Sunday tees, he thinks. Sure. I think I kind of like their dynamic because within the Warmongers chapter, they are kind of like the only fuckos that weren't in the know of the giant plan. So there's like, they're obeying orders, but then they didn't know they had like the wool being pulled over their eyes. So it's kind of funny of them just scrambling around and, playing hooky with us. Enigma art in real time, sure. True. What's wrong with appealing to Fujoshi? They're strangers to this game. They're not actually like us. They're not like us. Crying emoji from Jerbear. Fujoshi kills Grandma, so true. AR made for the collective's 3 fans of these characters. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, in the very least, they have some representation for those 3 fans. This game, what I like about it is it doesn't necessarily just appeal to the biggest pool of people. It's fine if there's like some really unappealing things that you don't like, because someone out there likes it and they feel super validated just because they have such a super specific interest. And just for that fact, I'm happy for this game. Among many reasons. Some are Hombre synergy, I don't think not. Another Doctor saves the day. Alright, so that's it for the ARs.
It's definitely not some Hombre synergy because it barely even adds. It's not. It doesn't really add to his existing guts. Like, his existing guts is already enough. Having another 10% roll does not help, in my opinion.
Yeah, you're better off running like another like CP Gen AR if possible.
Or like Glint or something like that at that point. Just throwing something that's useful like that.
The artist for this is like the same as the Yasirari one with Hombre, so that's probably why he looks cute here and not cursed.
I think he looks cuter in this one than the other one, to be honest. Like, the other one they seem to have a weird texture about them.
I think after getting another decent Hombre Tigre AR, we should get another that's also cursed yet again for the 18th billion time.
He actually has like 4 ARs now, and they're both by 2 artists, Yao and Saj, I believe.
I like cursed, I'm pretty sure, right? It's the one with the Tiscali Pokemon, and then the other Tiscali Pokemon with his feet.
So the one
double feet AR, and the other
both
one
of which have like really prominent like lips.
Oh, Hombre team, we can't catch a break. Okay, we're going to be moving on finally into some of the more proper topics. Not yet into the chapter 15 stuff, but we will now be talking about Echo's evolution and Echo as a whole. This will be my topic. So, this released, of course, during the campaign, Day Cross campaign. Echo's evolution, along with everyone else's in this batch, actually, well, Chernobog's maybe is a bit different. But Echo's evolution is rather simple, and it doesn't make her too much stronger, but it doesn't give her a niche use, which is, not that well pronounced, but it's there, and, you might want to remember Echo even if it's not the greatest niche use. Essentially, what she has now is she has Reflect debuff onto self after attacking. And of course, she already has Reflect debuff on turn start, so I'll talk about that later. And she also has now a bit of additional flat damage when she attacks enemies, and she now has Dazzle to enemies that are nearby to her every move phase end. And now she has Combo on Miss, which might be the most important part of this kit. But yeah, let's talk about her rules in this game now. She has hit-miss effect doubling, which means that all the effects that are listed in her entire kit, whether it's through missing or through attacking, can now be doubled because of that combo effect. However, it does mean she does need to miss in the very first turn. You can't be attacking with her blow range. And because of this combo, she now has... She's now improved as a Punisher in all range, because in her original gameplay, she had to be hit first, so kind of waste a turn just waiting for her to get hit, and before she switches to all range for the 2 turns right after. And with those 2 turns, she doesn't do too much damage, but we'll get back to what she can do. She is, first off, an improved tank now. Notably, she's actually immune to evasion, so that's not really tanky of her, not very cash money of her. But she starts off with Guts as the trade-off at a guaranteed rate on phase start. And she does have a good amount of healing. If you are missing, then she's healing herself and her allies adjacent. And if you... and every second turn start, she actually heals a pretty decent amount of 1200 HP. So at least her healing... she can recover quite a decent amount, and if she's missing somehow with a combo, such as on the first turn, which you're not going to be healing anyone then, but if you do happen on a later turn, then she can be healing up to 1000 for every miss. She's also an improved damage mitigator now because of her dazzle, so she now has one proper tanking utility. Of course, it's only for enemies within her range of 2 square diamond radius. It's not impressive, but it's there. At least, not just having Guts and that's it, with a bit of healing. And she is now an improved debuff indicator. As I said, she was very generously given Reflect debuff every turn start, kind of like Discount Tiscali Poka. But now she also has Reflect debuff every time she attacks. And the significance of this is that sometimes she picks up debuffs from different enemies that she attacks them, or even multiple debuffs from a single enemy. So that Reflect debuff will get purged at some point, or exhausted rather. And what's her counter to that? Well, nothing. After that, she usually would just pick up those debuffs that other enemies give. But through being able to get Reflect debuff after she attacks, she can now refresh her Reflect debuff and continuously reflect them. Not at a great rate, of course, 70%, but it's technically possible. She is now also an improved debilitator because of her combo ability. So this is probably her, base intention in terms of how she was designed when All Range was still being rolled out in this game. She, at a pretty shitty rate, inflicts fear and dazzle on enemies she hits, and also weakness. She can't actually take advantage of that weakness on that first hit. But they're not great rates, but with combo, she can roll for them twice now. For fear, dazzle, and weakness, so prevent them from moving, deny their charge full of it, reduce their damage, and reduce their defense. And she is also now an improved flat damage dealer. So previously she had Spirit Self and allies every time she missed, which is its Spirit, kind of whatever, gives additional 800 attack damage on top of whatever you're calculating. But now she also deals an additional 800 flat damage for every unit she attacks. So that's 1600 in total with Spirit and that flat damage effect. And if you have combo on top of that, then she's doing 3200, which is still not great, but it's at least not negligible. It's just not going to be instantly killing anyone. Maybe reducing some mobs to like half their health or a third of it. And of course she has possession on her charge as before, so that of course adds on to her improved debilitation feature. And last but not least, this feature actually did get quite a lot stronger. It's kind of the feature that people probably sleep on and forget she has, but it is pretty strong, despite what it seems. It's her ability to charge for her allies, because it's guaranteed. It is a small amount of only 6 CP for every enemy she hits. She'll be giving 6 CP to her allies. However, because she is hitting every enemy on board and it's guaranteed, it does add up, and with combo, she can get her charge super quick. And her charge itself also has that same effect, 3 CP to allies and circling. She does have some unmodified rolls. She still, resists evasion for some reason, and also pierces evasion, which will not help you anyways because she's mostly like a flat damage dealer for whatever damage she does do, and her base damage is kind of whatever. But yeah, overall, my recommendations for this unit is just for her new utility to exploit those multiple board-wide hits. I believe she's the only unit besides like Hester on charge or something who has both all range weapon change as well as combo. So it's the most accessible, especially for a 4-star. You do have to waste a turn, unfortunately. But because of that, as you will see for the rest of this banner, and as I'm hinting on from the actual discussion stream's name, there's going to be a lot of combo in this discussion, and there's going to be a lot of units that can exploit combo. And I'm going to be talking about a few examples that can synergize with that combo effect right now on board wide. So of course there's Arc, the quintessential case, who I think was one of the first to get released or get their evolution released to have an effect that can exploit that. What Arc does is they inflict some sort of debuff that what's called It lets the enemy self-inflict bind at a chance, not guaranteed, but to all enemies. And because of that, you'll want to hit every enemy multiple times, which Echo's perfect for. Certainly, there's Shino's Snowball variant, which is not great. At magic range, he does this remove buff thing every at a chance of it every time they're hit. There's also Nightmare Jumpabon after his evolution. I believe he inflicted the skill where they had like a chance rate of break to self every time they're hit. And of course, there is Turing and Bagist and Volos who have those logic bomb-like effects that actually, you know, are only a coin flip to actually inflict a massive amount of flat damage and or debuffs. And you may also want to exploit this on Madness Inflictors, or with Madness Inflictors, because Madness, if you remember, it actually lets people take additional flat damage every time they are hit. So if you're hitting everyone and they're all next to each other and you are hitting them twice, that could add up to like an okayish amount. I'm not going to say it's good, but it's going to be okay. Same thing for if you have like Burn and Conflagration Inflictors. It's very specific. I said a lot of things for Echo, so I did my due justice on her. I don't think she's like a great unit, but she definitely now has her own very specific niche, which is not great in itself, but it exists. And yes, other units in this manner will be able to take advantage of what Echo has, which you may be able to see in the footage right now. That's all my thoughts on Echo.
It's a pretty good skevo. 1k healing per turn if you manage to like not let her get hit is actually pretty big if you know how to control aggro. I'm a bit pissed that she got a bunch of utility in her skevo that like actually helps her, and then Kimun.
Okay, that explains it. I was like, you really think it's good, but then if you're comparing it to Kimun, I guess it makes sense.
It's like a fine skevo.
It's kind of annoying because
what Kimun's Evo was.
It's combo also, except he doesn't have to miss. He just gets it for free. He does other shit, but it's like so unimportant. We'll talk about it in a sec. Let's not spoil it right now. It's like literally the next topic.
Oh, right. I completely forgot that he was in this match.
That's why we're talking. Zalgus. As you can see, I'm the only one who took notes on everyone. I mean, of course, it's my stream.
Sorry, my internet is brain rotting me. But yeah, I actually do like Echo. She was one of those characters when she released that I thought she was really interesting to use. Well, I think it's like the prospect of all range debuffing was what interested me. The combo doesn't really help in that respect, since like there's no, well, I guess it helps to attempt to fish for another fear if you miss and whatnot, but she doesn't really benefit from the combo in that way. But at least she gets the flat damage, I suppose. I would have rather she got more debuffs on hit personally, for, you know, even more all range utility. But I suppose the combo for healing is nice enough. But yeah, it's an okay Evo. It just wasn't what I wanted, which was more debuffs.
I mean, I think we were all expecting more debuffs with her. Not Dazzle at least. Or at better rates at least. I was a bit surprised they didn't give her those Evos, but instead gave her this combo thing. Which in practice...
What are you talking about? Combo increases it to 75% fear rate.
In practice, it's kind of annoying actually too. Sometimes it's like I have Echo hit by accident with their below range, which sounds like it'd be difficult, but it does happen more often than you think. I'm just like, okay, I wasted the first turn with the Enfield to get combo as a result. So it's been annoying with getting takes over as a result. That's not like, this is of course, all the footage here is the best case scenario when it works out, but there's like a few other takes where it's just like Echo does fucking nothing. So keep that in mind. This is like the ideal scenario, what you're saying. I do think Echo, it's interesting, we'll see thematically within this banner, there's going to be a lot of combo, and I feel like maybe Life Wonders is trying to tell us something. Maybe that's going to be relevant to the next farm quest or something. But yeah, keep a lookout on them. They're not super strong right now. Honestly, combo in general is not very strong as a strategy. It's just like when it's needed, it's needed. But who knows, maybe it will be super, super needed because... I mean, you're not going to be using Echo for farming because you need to get hit, but at least you'll have more options, as we'll see. Anyway, I'm going to read out the chat if no one has anything else to say.
I mean, combo is pretty relevant for the Chapter 14 attack quest.
It is, but remember, Echo needs to miss or.
I'm just saying, as a general concept, combo is pretty relevant there. Echo is Echo.
Is it relevant?
For chapter 14, there. Do you have chapter 14 unlocked, right? Zalgus, you've been doing it, right?
You mean the one? I don't even know what the name of that thing is.
Overlord.
The one with Overlord. Yeah.
Overlord, yeah. How's it relevant there? Because I just blew them up.
He has.
He can use like
evasion. Okay, Harvey can explain. Yeah.
He has this effect where he like drains a bunch of HP from himself whenever you hit him, and also the mobs around him. So if you just spam a bunch of combo units, you can pretty much just kill him that way. And there is a unit from the chapter 15 banner that like kind of fucks him over like that, but I guess we'll talk about him later.
I saw your Masanori Claire. That was kind of funny, Harvey. What you did with Overlord.
Yeah,
I just used Masashi CS to blow him up.
Yeah, I would not recommend using that Masanori team, but it's there if you want to use it.
I mean, I'm not sure if you noticed, but he actually does have evasion, Zalgus Overlord. It's just that uniquely, he can remove it himself, or he just removes it straight up the moment you hit him the first time. So in that sense, combo can also help too.
I completely did not notice any of this.
Well, you probably have someone hitting him at that point, since I doubt Masashi can pierce it unless you're doing like insane damage, in which case you're probably doing some shitty AR combination.
It's Masashi, but it's probably Oscar hitting him, because Oscar clears out the entirety of the first phase, and Masashi's behind him so that he doesn't get like...
there's the explanation. That's definitely the case, because he does have evasion, it's just that you don't notice it because of evasion resistance isn't applied immediately after the first hit. I
just assumed that he had like massive CS, or massive or range resistance until you... Or unless it was in a CS or something, but I guess it's that instead.
I mean, Overlord seems pretty interesting after I read on it. I'm doing as much research as I can on it since I just unlocked it, but I can see why people found it easy. It's not like brain dead, but combo can definitely help for a quest like that. Harvey has a point. So I'm going to read up the chat now. Yo, loser, rolling on the floor emoji, future attack, beware the tickler. Came here for a sec to give your thoughts on all topics, meh, bye. Okay, what's the heck, Harvey? Weren't you like sucking Michael's like a second ago? You're like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna use him with Tai Shotgun and he's gonna be amazing! That was you, I swear to God. Is that like a bearded man emoji? I don't even know what that is.
It's one of the new Pride emojis for YouTube.
I was looking for like the gay emoji since it was like a lesbian and I was like, I couldn't find it, but maybe I just missed that one.
He kind of looks like a stereotypical hipster or something.
It's like a druggie. An Irish druggie. Well, you guys really abandoned me, huh? Yeah, it's same old, same old. I was waiting in chat for a while until someone came in, like, in the last events. For that Overlord quest, just Willie and Oz it. I believe he doesn't actually have all range resistance, it's just that everyone else does. But not... Apparently, Loki doesn't even have all range resistance in his quest, so that's kind of interesting.
Well, Willie also pierces evasion on the first hit, so yeah, he can one-shot it through that, and also everyone on the map because they...
I just realized it's only 2 phases, so that means Oz can work there without any weird bullshit to roll for his rates. It's just guaranteed for the first 2 turns. Yeah, Oz would be good for that.
Unless you get hit by like Drain or Skill Lock from
That's true. So. I mean, I guess you could just slot Oz last or something, so he is less likely to do that. But yeah, it's we are done talking about Echo. We are now moving on to the next topic. It is our favorite bear of this game, Kimun Kamui. Why don't you tell us about his amazing evolution?
Yeah. So this bear got a second Skivo. And let me tell you.
When he's... he said second Evo, and it was like, he got a first Evo, and I remember the first Evo wasn't that great either.
Yeah, they both trash.
It's still better than this one.
Kind of suck. So his second Evo gives him phase start healing to his allies. It's a 1k HP in a diamond radius. That's cool. And turn start combo, which is pretty decent, but Kimun's role is like pretty shit already, so this doesn't help him too much. He's arguably better when he's attacking. It's because he gets like nourishment and protection, but now that he has combo, he's generating CP twice as much, so he'll be getting to his CS quicker now. And when he CSs, he'll be switching to his none range. And his none range effects are pretty dog shit because of how limited they are in range. Like, he'll be doing like a countdown's tick of damage in thrust range when he misses now with combo. But like, we have thrust range units you can probably kill enemies in that range. I guess he gets another roll for freeze. Yeah, this.
But as usual,
like,
yeah, as usual, it seems they keep on sleeping on flat damage quantities, and that hasn't changed even with combo for Kimun.
Yeah, like turner combo is like a good effect, but the rest of Kimun's kit is still trash, so this doesn't help too much. Yeah, those are all my thoughts on this game.
Wait, that's it, really?
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. It fucking sucks because Kimun's kit sucks, so combo doesn't help.
That's what he does.
Yeah,
he's really good at
having
sucking.
having to go through all the trouble of getting your CS first before you can and then wait until the turn after to get any benefit out of his proper kit sucks. I mean, I guess with combo you can get an early head start because you'll get that second attack with the none range, so you can get in a sneaky early hit of the on miss. But it's not very impressive. Like, they should have given him something that lets him enter his something that greatly increases his CP gain. I mean, I guess combo technically increases his CP gain, but he's still thrust, so. I would have rather they gave him a weapon change that makes him none or blow or slash or something that isn't thrust, because that's the worst. Well, I mean, I guess longer range. No, because bigger ranges than that would actually be more useful, because then he would be able to get the CP a lot quicker. So yeah, thrust is really just the worst range for him.
Yeah, he needed another attacking effect or another miss effect, because both his modes they still suck.
Yeah, I feel like the only time you want to use Kimun is kind of in a situation that never happens, and there's always better options for. You're just gonna use him for tanking, really, for longer battles. And even then, he's not a great tank either, since it's only attacking, which is not guaranteed 80% for some reason. I don't understand this. I guess he's a bit more of a situational as a tank because he can remove buffs, and if you're gonna do that, I guess he can bring someone else who can fill his charge a bit faster alongside with him. But it's everything I described, when does this ever happen, right? This is fucking year one challenge quests. Literally. And also, he's just not suited for any challenge quest that has enemies with extremely high HP, because it's when he does switch his mode, his 20,000 damage is flat damage is not going to do anything really in comparison to those bosses that have 1 million health. So he is certainly picking a niche that no one needed niches for.
So you think 20k damage isn't that high, huh? Okay, I'll keep that one in mind for my one.
Well, it's it can add up, but if you're facing bosses, you might as well just do skilling damage. It's good for.
It's because he can't kill with it. So it's a slot wasted just for flat damage that doesn't really do anything.
It was one of the highest at its times, which is still sad. We have slightly better options now, and it's that just goes to show how stingy Wonders is with proper flat damage sources. So Kimun is a bit better with his flat damage thing, but how often are you really gonna want 20,000 flat damage to just in thrust range? Really?
Yeah, and he also loses his tankiness when he does flat damage, so
yeah, it's a mystery.
Unless you copy buffs off of them.
I mean, you could do that too, yeah.
Copy offensive buffs that you can't use.
Yeah. I thought about using him with the Valentine leaked for some reason. I don't know what my thought process was.
Or you activating buff reversal or something, or his stigma effect.
Yeah, it was. Oh, right. It was like stealing crit from.
That thing, yeah.
Pistos. Yeah.
I guess he's one of the
It didn't
units who's doing that, but yeah.
It didn't really work out too well because of how like
Situational.
inconsistent. Like, yeah.
It's like when everything aligns, the planets are in synchronization. And
every time you talk about units like this, where you go, I guess you could use him as a tank. I always think like we have many other units who could serve as tanks infinitely better.
I mean, for a 4-star, he's not a terrible tank. Like, yes, they're like far superior 5-star tanks. But, like for 4-star tanks,
there's far superior 3-star tanks, and his name is fucking Daikoku. He just shits out protection,
I guess.
Protection, yeah, and HP, and he doesn't have downtime either. Well, unless you move him, but
can he steal buffs? See, he didn't think of that.
His 5-star can.
Well, that's a 5-star. It doesn't count. See, Kimun has the best of both worlds in 4-star.
I forget if what's his face Yamasaki became significantly tankier with his Evo.
Did he get I don't remember.
His 4-star?
Yeah, he got
his base version. Yeah, that one he's very tanky because he doesn't need to move. I always remember Yamasa because of that.
You know, he's free, and like not only has he got like absurd offense when you CS and stuff, he's really tanky. I say this without remembering what his kit was from the Evo.
It's like tenacity adjacent or something. Yeah, he got some damage M2. He like really ate. And like fucking
move phase,
Kamui,
move phase and tenacity to self and allies adjacent, and concentration and break spread. So
we're not talking about him though right now. So
it's ridiculous.
There's like I'm not saying there's no better options, but I'm saying he's okay. Okay, there's like worse tanks in this game that are 4-star than Kimun Kami. Like pretty much every Blood of the Beast unit.
I mean, true, but that's like.
Yes, I know it's not saying much, but come on, give him a break.
Is it his only defense thing, like protection?
Yeah, he has healing, of course, that comes with it, and I guess what's called the CP reduction also counts as a form of tanking indirectly.
Freeze resistance. Does he heal himself? I think all his healing effects are only for allies.
Self-nourishment. There you go.
Oh my fucking god! You're not doing.
Kimun's protection is only 80%. At least Blood of the Beast is 100%.
He has combo.
Yeah, we're not doing these fucking Fury Curry level takes with nourishment being the pinnacle of
There's so much healing. All right, he has protection. Okay, we'll move on. Fine. Kimun's not great, but you can read the chat and delude the audience to tell them otherwise. He's a great bear, for sure. Just not in game.
Rainbow emoji. This isn't Enigma or Ashigara or Labe or Alp or Enigma balls. It's amazing how after 2 buffs he's still not good. Okay, yeah, that's on Life Wonders for like not knowing how the fuck to fix this unit. I guess the only real fix at this rate is just wait for his variant. Whatever that happens.
I feel like a fix would be to actually improve both the attacking and the miss phase, because he's designed for both.
Try with Labe. Yeah. Labe's fucking thing was just like his variant is just like Esquivo of his existing kit, which is kind of insane. Mochosumi effect. Hey, I don't remember that guy ever since we did that stream. And they're both 4-star fire thrust thinking emoji. I thought Mochosumi was magic. That's his Setsubun, I believe, which is.
We were talking about regular Mochosumi, but at least Setsubun Mochosumi has synergy with Adamantine and Binder or something.
I don't think that one got Esquivo, did
it? He has Charm Unity.
He did not get an Evo, but he's still better than base Mochosumi.
Oh. I take offense to that, because I don't have him. Best Guardian, Tarku Kamui for me, and Kimun Kamui for my brother. OMG, the Summer Ashi synergy. I mean, sure.
They can save each other.
If you really want to use Sami Ashigara.
Now neither are relevant.
whatever. Okay, I think that's it.
Okay, thank you, Harvey. Let's talk about the only good Evo, although it's still a bit situational in this match. Go ahead, Zalgus. We will now be talking about Chernobog, also known more commonly as Chernobog. Go ahead.
Okay, so the local Lord of Darkness, I think that was his title, has gotten another skill Evo. Let's see if it's enough to actually make him useful. So his oppression and CP decrease on hit got the Evo. The oppression remains the same, but the CP decrease changes to a drain. It's a pretty minor thing since Cherno doesn't really have the greatest range to even take advantage of it, because he's slash range. In optimal conditions, he'll gain 30 CP, which is okay, but it's unlikely to be practical. I actually put this later in my notes, but if you're hitting an enemy with 0 CP, you're not going to drain any CP, and they're not going to like gain CP from you hitting them and then you drain it. So I think if it was after hitting, it might work, but it doesn't in this case. So it's really not that useful. They should have made it after hitting.
You know, as a side thought, I didn't realize this, but like apparently before hitting and after hitting effects, they don't actually trigger on the same timing exactly. I mean, I know that seems obvious, but like for me, I thought they triggered by the same thing, but just, you know, took effect at different times. But let's say you have a before hitting effect and then you get skill locked. Apparently that means that your before hitting effect will go through, then you'll get skill locked, and your after effect hitting effect will be denied. I didn't realize that was the case, so that's very interesting.
I don't know how often that will be relevant, because they don't really package them like that often.
I'm mentioning this because someone decided to farm with a Teda for the chapter 14 Loki farm, and they had him so that they attacked but didn't get the penalty because they got blinded from Loki, which is kind of stupid.
That's genius.
Yeah.
Right.
Sorry to derail. Go ahead.
Yeah, so optimally he would gain 30 extra CP, but really you're probably just going to gain 0 extra CP from that, because they're probably going to have 0 CP. Unless someone else on your team hit them first, I guess. Which you shouldn't be doing, because Chernobog should be attacking first for freeze. He also got freeze to enemies behind those that he hits. He already had freeze on hit at 80% rate on a different skill. Annoyingly, this new freeze spread is only 70%, which is kind of a poop rate, because Chernobog doesn't have any innate rate boosting, but whatever. It reaches 2 squares behind his target, so he could potentially hit a 3x3 range if he slashes 3 units in front. It's a decent range for the freeze, although it's somewhat conditional. You might want to consider pulling units to make sure Cherno actually has targets to spread freeze off of. So he got phase start, freeze resistance to self and allies globally, annoyingly at 90%. Freeze isn't an incredibly common ailment for enemies to inflict, so this kind of has minimal use outside of being a buff. I guess it neutralizes Itzamna's unique freeze weakening, but that's like never relevant. I guess if we ever fight like a super Kopaka who could apply freeze stacks, which this does work to negate, I guess this would help. I feel like there was some CQ in the distant past that inflicted a lot of freeze and was actually annoying.
It was a main quest, I think, facing Corp.
I only remember the main quest, like Corp fight, where you actually applied tactical freeze, I think.
Yeah, that was actually
It might have been that. Well, unfortunately for most people, that's long since not relevant. I mean, it's probably just not relevant at all because it's easy to blow up or whatever. Okay, now for the actual unique parts of his Evo that aren't kind of sucky. So phase start, Chernobog inflicts freeze defense weakening to the entire enemy board. At 100% rate, this makes it so that enemies who have freeze take an additional 10k damage. This is like Spirit, in that it just adds 10k flat damage to the final damage value. So you can use this to circumvent evasion or defense stacking, since the 10k will not be affected by such mitigations, it'll just be added on top. How useful this is questionable. We already have methods of piercing both evasion and defense, sometimes both on one character, looking at you, Christmas Nomad. And we also have a variety of ARs to pierce, and they're pretty, pretty common, at least for the evasion piercing ones. There are many 4-star ones. An additional 10k is a decent amount, but it also doesn't benefit from attack buff stacking since it's just a flat 10k added on top. If we get some enemy in future who has unpierceable defenses, perhaps I could see this being useful, but you could also use combo, because then you'll double dip on the 10k and make it 20k. So I was saying earlier where Ara said that 20k flat damage is not that much, but this is a bit different because freeze defense weakening is added onto the calculation and to the attack itself, it can kill, unlike Kimun's flat damage, which cannot kill ever. So this 10k flat damage is more useful in that regard. And lastly, we have turn start freeze to the entire enemy board when Cherno's CP is at 100. This is a useful effect in theory, a global damage buff that is also buffed by freeze defense weakening. But there's a few problems with this. So first, like I said, Cherno sucks at actually building up his CS. If hitting enemies with no CP, which is what you're going to be doing at the start of a phase, unless someone else is going before Cherno, then he's not actually going to drain anything, so he's not going to need that much CP. He's going to get 5 per enemy hit, which is not impressive. So you pretty much need someone to provide CP to him if you actually want to get it in a realistic time. The second is that freeze weakening only lasts for 3 turns. You probably won't even get his CP up to 100 before the freeze weakening wears off, so the global freeze is unlikely to be useful for phase 1. Which, I mean, I guess you should just have him slash the enemies instead. On the other hand, because Cherno's CS is short range at a slash, it's really easy to just put Cherno in the back and constantly freeze the enemy board. It's a roundabout way of getting a global damage buff, or defense debuff in this case, but it's pretty easy to control and have ready for a subsequent phase by just hiding him in the back, like when you're about to move on to the next phase. I don't know how practical that would be, but it is a strategy. All in all, I would say it's not really a terrible Evo. He has a greater freeze spread, and that's without even considering his board-wide freeze. And the added fixed damage is, I would say it's fairly unique. We don't get this kind of added fixed damage onto the attack itself too often. So, yeah, it's certainly more useful than it used to be anyway, and it's more useful than Kimun's Evo. It doesn't really mess with his existing playstyle too much, because you kind of already wanted to just hit things and, you know, freeze and debuff them. Unless you change your strategy by keeping his CS loaded in the back. But once you've frozen the enemy board for a given phase, you can really probably just have him CS and hit them so he can do other things. And by do other things, I mean try and attack them on the next turn for oppression and curse, I guess.
Why would you ever want to do that? Just have freeze up forever.
I mean, I guess you could, but freeze lasts for 4 turns. Are you going to have a deadweight sitting in the back doing nothing for 4 turns? Or maybe 3? Is it 3, 4?
It's not about the turns and how long they last. It's about having it up for the next phase.
Well, yeah, but once they've frozen them for the next phase, or for the given phase, why don't you just have him, you know, curse them?
Because it'll take forever for him to get his charge back up again.
I mean, it takes forever to build up the charge initially anyway, so you've probably already got a Barry.
Not today, because we haven't talked about this. Guild affiliations are happening to other units soon, so feasibly if you move them to a guild with full CP advantage, you could take advantage of that freeze right away. That's my main contribution for Chernobog here.
I try not to talk about those because they're so busted.
But, you know, it seems they're designing a lot of these units with that option in mind, like very far off option, but it seems to be, you know, a lot more CP 100 effects are being released now.
So he'll be a worse Qinglong with CP investment. Got it.
He's gonna be a worse Qinglong and also Nightglow's Kurugane at home. There you go.
Fucking Christ. Are you done with all your commentary, Zalgus? Or
I mean, yeah, there's not too much to this, honestly, so that's pretty much it.
You talked quite a bit about him, but that's just how you present things, I guess.
It's just because I'm one of those yappers, as the kids say.
Professional yapper. Yeah, what I've been noticing...
I hate that word.
What I've been noticing about some of these effects is that they make the Halloween Ellie and Gurgunch combo very strong, because it kind of uncap the potential of like how many hits an enemy can take with like possession and all range combined. So like if a full bird is already possessed, an enemy can take like a bunch more damage from the 10k flat damage thing, but that's quite situational in itself. I think it's like a neat effect with like Jamboree Moritaka, because he kind of has like low base damage, but the 10k can like help him past certain thresholds.
For farming dailies, which is not challenged anyways anymore.
Yeah. But since Moritaka can like apply freeze by himself, he doesn't. Chernobog doesn't need to like have his CS up for that, or hit anyone for that matter.
Yeah, I mean, you might, if you have some Zalgus, you might be able to use them with Jamboree Moritaka. I was thinking about that too. Can actually just do some decent comp clearing in basic ass quests.
I do actually have Chernobog. I'm pretty sure I have him on both accounts, actually.
Okay, well, then you can use them as Jamboree Moritaka for farming, I guess. If, you know, you were having trouble with dailies or something for some reason.
True.
I mean, I did have on, like, way back when I was using, like, not Nobuharu, what was his name? Kuma and, what's his face? Jamboree Moritaka to clear the columns in the gold clearing, or the gold weeklies, or dailies, I guess. And there were a few enemies where, in a very, very small number of cases, where Moritaka wouldn't be able to one-shot them. So I guess Chernobog would technically have fixed that.
He admits it. Chernobog is good.
No, that age is long since past. There are, like, even when talking about Jamboree Moritaka, I have other setups I could use, or I could do to power him up for that. So, yeah, I mean, I guess it's technically a synergy, but it's not really that. I mean, I guess he has innate combo, so he himself can double dip on it. So, yeah, I guess that's a synergy.
There you go. You heard it from the man. Chernobog is good. You can now read out the chat, Zalgus. I don't think there was much comments, honestly. Was there any? No one even gives a shit about Chernobog. The age of Chernobog is fucking dead.
Hey guys, I'm so late. I didn't miss anything too important. Sad face, it looks like. Or
The
I can't believe this.
physical face.
No
I
one
don't know.
fucking cares about Chernobog. That's so sad.
You know, I think it's funny because I was actually like back reading some stuff tangentially related, but it ended up being about Chernobog, and I was like, man, he used to be a lot more popular, and I don't really hear about anyone talking about.
I think people only simp about his like
he
beach
has-
variant. No one gives a shit about his face.
Sad. Ooh.
He's gotten like 0 content since then, so.
He's showed up a few times whenever Zao appears, I guess, like in brief passing.
Cool.
Does he show up whenever Anvari appears, or sometimes?
No,
when Anvari
Anvari has way too many connections. Like, Chernobog isn't his only hoe, so he barely ever gets a bonus.
Yeah. There's the only thing that we got recently was like the date quest voice line for Anvari and Chernobog.
The size difference. I'm afraid I'll break you. Is that what it said? I'm gonna pretend that's what it said. Okay. Alright, we're gonna move on to the next topic. Being Medusa's here.
I feel like he'd be oblivious about that.
Oh. You never know. It's always the silent giants. We're gonna talk about the new mob that released during the Date Quest campaign. We will not be talking about Starman because they have not actually released yet, so it's just this, and then we'll move on to the actual chapter 15 units. So, this unit, or set of units, is the Drone Pilot. What is there to say about this unit? They are a moderate charge filling unit, so they have various ways of the ability to charge. Whenever they're hit, or whenever they miss, they have a chance of 10 CP to self, and every turn start they also have a 12 CP to self, so that's an okay amount. You still have to like wait for maybe like 4 or 5 turns if you don't have any additional help. But of course, in a real game, you'd probably have some additional charge fillers to help you out. The reason why I'm starting with this charge fill amount is probably because, or it's definitely because, the most important thing is actually their charge, because everything else is so fucking irrelevant that it doesn't even matter. But the charge itself is actually surprisingly really good, just only if you farm them, because you can max their artifact level, and if you did, then you'll be enjoying a very tasty crit on board wide with the full Sacred Artifact level bonus, and it also bestows the 2 allies as well, so that is like a pretty generous effect for a charge. It's just locked behind, you know, the charge filling itself, which they seem to be designed around. Otherwise, they're not doing too much because they have some other utility, but it's not really worth mentioning. They do change their attack range whenever they're stationary. They change shot, and on charge, they change to magic for the next 2 turns. And if they are attacking, then they can do a bit of flat damage, because for every unit they attack, they inflict this effect where they get a poison diffusion. So they'll just end up giving poison to enemies that are adjacent to them, not necessarily not to themselves, but enemies that are adjacent to them, or allies that are adjacent to them, I guess, from the enemy's perspective. So the rate is only 50% when they do hit them, but it is guaranteed once it has gone through. But yeah, someone else at that point needs to hit them, I believe. So it can't be through the same hit to activate. And they can also achieve a bit more flat damage from, you know, besides the poison, they can, which is minimal and non-existent. There's also the flat damage from the effect of self-inflicting flat damage every time to all enemies on phase start, which is somewhat unique. It's just, you know, kind of like a very shit low rate, or a shit low amount rather. It's guaranteed, which is nice, and it's technically exploitable if you have just like, again, yet another unit, just like Chernobog or Echo, well, I guess Chernobog more so, who can exploit combo at an all board range, because if you are hitting all the enemies, and you can reduce their HP by 800. It's not much, but if you have an entire team doing it, I guess it could go up to 3200, which is, it's starting to become not negligible, but it's still very low. But yeah, combo is becoming more and more relevant. At least that's the agenda that Life Learners seems to want to tell us for today. Besides that, they also have some skill activation rate and charge denial. So they have obstruct combatants whenever they're hit. Obstruct is like almost never relevant, but it is there if for some reason you play around them whiffing their things at a very low rate in itself. There's also the effect of inflicting the drain diffusion, which essentially is they have a drain for the unit that they hit, so they will be applying an effect where if they're hit again by other allies, then, or by your allies, then their allies get drained adjacently, but not them. It's kind of awkward. Just look at the screen. Look at the screen. It's better to look at the screen. Don't listen to my words. Look at the screen. But yeah, 2 sources of activation right down. It's there. Very interesting. And also you can deny charge too with Strain, I guess. But yeah, there's not really much to say about this unit for all those other things. I'm sorry I wasted your time about that. Just look at the screen, honestly. The main thing you may want to think about is just the charge itself, and because they are summoners, it is very tempting to invest in summoners, the CP perk, because, you know, there's just like a ton of mobs that are, you know, possibly maxed depending on how much you care about mob farming, and they'll have their full artifact charge strength, which may or may not be very strong, but for drone pilots, at the very least, it is definitely one of the stronger ones, if not the strongest one, among all the charges of the mobs. So that's all I have to say about drone pilot.
Listening to Ara go insane over these fucking ugly rats.
What? I just look at the charge, the tiny box in the bottom of the kit. That's what I look at. I do not look at the face.
I think it's kind of dumb that after CSing, their subsequent charges are harder to get. Well, unless, I guess you could hit them with the magic range directly, but now you can no longer miss. But, I mean, I guess you would get more CP out of just hitting them. But, I don't know. But yeah, I think it's nice to have the big CS, especially since if you're like me, you have them at SA 100. But...
Oh, you did farm it.
Yeah, of course I found it. Yeah, they're all at SA 100. They're not particularly impressive beyond their CS. Like, who cares about skill rate down effects? Those are never relevant. And also, they're essentially made of paper because they have no personal defenses. So
Yeah.
They're relevant when they're placed onto your units during farming.
Don't you hate it when
Yeah.
they reward you with mobs that are annoying as fuck to face, but then are useless when you bring them fucking missing units? I swear to God.
Yeah, I guess it's like an interesting rule change for them when they CS. They get their magic range now, and they start like applying those two debuffs at a better range, I guess. But yeah, they are pretty much CS or bust in most cases.
I actually forgot to do the damage calculation. I'm sorry, but it should be good. Just trust me on this.
it's like a times 16 multiplier. Wait, isn't it just a times 1.6 multiplier then? Because it's divided by. It should be 4 times for the base CS, and then you're also getting crit.
Yeah.
So that's 16, but since it's all range, it's just a 1.6 damage buff on 3,500, which, I mean, offhandedly doesn't sound very impressive.
I mean, 10,000 is always like the staple for, you know, killing mobs. And at that point, you just throw in some additional damage buffs and they're stronger. And of course, if you
It's
already are, if you're gonna bring
5,600.
Well, 5,600.
It's about 5,600 roundabout. So he'll definitely need help for that.
I guess so, but
If you're doing some mob run, I think the only person who can really help him is like.
think about it this way: if you're investing in summoners for the instant charge perk, you might have already invested most likely on some additional damage as well. So it feeds in itself.
Alright, this isn't drone pilot gameplay that you're showing off. What is this nonsense?
I'm not recording mob footage, jeez.
Oh my god, Hakenshi!
Okay.
Yeah, that's my footage. Hello.
It's probably formatted this time, so it's not like a tiny box inside the screen.
I don't know why, but I assume that @ was like a copyright mark instead of an @
Well, you know, Harvey Kai's is the one and only. Might as well be trademarked.
Real.
What about the C? Which is like, what, just copyright?
Well, maybe if he starts selling his body and services, then he can get the copyright. I'll be looking out for that business. Anyways, moving on.
Is this our first rat smoke?
No, it's from
There's
Shambhavan.
Algernon.
Sorry, I should have
LOL!
said that. We've had Algernon, yeah. I'm pretty sure it's just Algernon.
Most people don't think that counts.
Well, too bad. Anyway, I'm gonna go read the chat. Is there even any comments on this? There's more comments in this than the last topic, which is
more
kind of funny.
comments than chat.
Like me typically used as beach farming. I feel like, yeah, that's what I said. Most people prefer beachside. Not every mob can be a streamer. The streamer is quite busted.
Don't you think that beachside Cherno is not that great? I was going to say.
I don't, but I know for a fact that a lot of people care about him simp over him whenever he said, "Oh, I want beachside Cherno," despite him being like such a mid unit. Anyway, find yourself someone who looks.
He hates Cherno.
I mean, I don't hate him. I never hated Cherno. It's just I don't see the hype. Find yourself someone who looks at you like enemy wood drone pilot does. Directly in the eyes with big eyes, I guess.
I don't want that, actually. But yeah, Ara has fallen to the live streamer propaganda. Yippee.
Well, I didn't believe it at first, but you know, I just keep on seeing footage of it and demonstrations of it, so you know, I can't deny evidence. Evidence above all, right? Anyway, we are going to be moving on to the first chapter 15 topic of this bunch. And we're going to be starting off on a very high note, I'm sure. Because we are going to be talking about Baphomet. So, what can I say about this mistress? I don't even know what her lore is. I haven't read anyone's backstory. I have heard of Baphomet, and I've seen the image of the goat doing the... what's called? Made you look sign. So what Baphomet is a very unimpressive unit because they are a moving dueler. So just by that, no matter how good they are, that role in itself is not very strong because one, it needs costly move, and two, you're gonna waste that move on dueling units like one by one, really. So it's like you have better uses for your move at that point. They do have a horizontal movement, which complements it, of course, and in order to engage in duels better, they also have an effect where they pull units in whenever they are hit by one square. So how they engage in duels is through extreme local damage mitigation. The one square directly in front of her, she applies Doubt, which is a very strong debuff for damage mitigation. I believe it reduces it to like maybe just like 1/10 or some shit like that of the original damage. It is kind of countered by the fact that she inflicts rage at the same time, so it's not quite as much of a reduction as it seems because of that. But she also does have Dazzle to enemies in the 2 square diamond radius every time she moves. So that stacks with Doubt and Rage, of course. And in addition to that, she also can charm anyone who hits her at a not super great rate of 40%, but it does add to her, tanking and just mitigating damage in general. And besides that, she is also a local damage amp, not like a global one, but very, very local one. She applies nourishment to allies and to herself every time she moves, guaranteed. And she does apply that rage effect to the enemy in front of her, which makes them stronger, gives them increased damage, but also reduces their defense as well. So they become more vulnerable to damage as a result. And lastly, she has concentration on her charge to herself as well as allies encircling. So those stack with each other. She doesn't build her charge too fast, so that's like whatever. And lastly, which is probably the most interesting thing about her, but also not particularly good, is that she is a local skill activation rate and charge fill manipulator. And I say manipulator because she kind of does both increasing and decreasing. So that's my catch-all term so that I can not have 2 different sections for it. But yeah, she can reduce the activation rate and inflict a CP down effect to her over time effect to her allies through Drain, because she actually applies Drain to her allies, which is incredible, adjacent to allies. It is a debuff, so not great, but the counter to it is that she can nullify this by moving, so you do have to move her in order to nullify it, which will then counteract the Drain's effect of 10% reduction and actually go in the opposite direction towards an additional 10%, so 20% total to get rid of that negative and go to the positives. And it will also counteract the CP drain effect by applying arousal at the same time. And what's it called? So the turn order, the CP will be reduced first, or the status order, the CP will be reduced first before the CP is regained. So it's kind of just like spinning your wheels, nothing actually happens. So, besides that weird Drain application, she also can apply Drain to enemies every time she moves in a 2 square diamond radius. How useful is that? It's not. There's also a Drain to her combatant, whoever she hits, as well as enemy collaterals left and right of whoever she hits, for on her charge. Which, again, she doesn't build too fast, but she has like one way of doing it. And she can also, as I mentioned before, boost the rates of her allies as well as herself just by concentration on charge. Her only way of getting her charge up is through stealing charge, the charge meter out of the enemies, 20 CP. As Zalgus mentioned before with Chernobog, if they don't start with charge, their charge meter up, then they're not going to be able to get too much out of it. They're not going to be able to take advantage of the CP that fills every time they hit. So you're going to need to like wait a turn before she can actually steal literally anything, and it's going to be a bit slow as a result. So what do I recommend with this unit? Well, she is uniquely the only unit that can inflict Drain to her own allies. So it could be good on like if you just want an ally debuff. But this is like one of the worst debuffs you can really choose to be playing with, because it's not like a no effect thing. It's a no effect to the enemy, but it's like super annoying for your own self because it reduces activation rates, and you really don't want to like be playing the team where your activation rates are reduced. And it's a nice debuff source for that. There's like a supposed key synergy, but I tried it out. It's not great because his own rates gets reduced as a result, and he might fail his stupid all range thing, as well as his vigor on move and all that. You can also try to use it to deny ally charge because of the Drain effect's CP reduction, but you can't have one or the other, because it's like if you try to cancel out the effect of Drain, then you'll get arousal too, which means you're not going to be able to deny your allies charge. Why am I talking about denying allies charge? Because sometimes it's actually a useful thing, such as with Kalki, where you want him to have his regular weapon forever rather than his charge range, which is only slash range. There's other examples of this, but that's like the one of niche use of Baphomet, but kind of contradicts in itself because if you want to not have that activation rate down, then you will have to sacrifice the charge denial aspect. So, otherwise, I would say just don't use this unit, like, at all. It's not good.
Yeah. She had a lot of move effects. They're just not in a good range. Like, Doubt's pretty good, I guess. I don't think we had a unit who could, like, consistently apply it onto enemies. Besides, like, Fushi at, like, a 70% rate or something.
There was a Sphinx, but, like, no one uses Sphinx for Doubt, right?
Yeah.
I doubt it.
There's Masanori, but it always comes with Possession. So for some reason, if you want to possess him, but not or doubt him, but not possess him, then I guess there's Baphomet. Although usually you'd want both.
Yeah, it's weird. Isn't Sphinx just like an infinitely better version of Baphomet in like every department?
Yeah, just thinking about how these two can exist in the same game, and it's like fucking. They're both the same rarity and the same type, and Baphomet's just like does fucking nothing. It's okay.
You can't like overcap on skill rate, right? So you can't go like up to like 110 or something.
Yeah, it's just up to 100.
Yeah.
Okay, just checking. So yeah, you won't be able to do that, and try and negate the stupid range shit. Right. So Baphomet. Amusingly, before she released, I accidentally called her Belphegor a few times, which was very appropriate because, yeah, she's shit and belongs in the toilet. Much like Belphegor also does. Although Belphegor's better than this, in my opinion. Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking with her. Like, when do we ever have a need to debuff one unit these days? Like, I don't know. It's the niche no one asked for or needs at all.
And for what it's worth, when you're facing bosses, oftentimes they're immune to Drain, and even Doubt sometimes too. So, great. And it's not like, you know, Drain's great at first place inflicting. Like, seriously?
And you have to move her to proc those effects too, so, you know.
They're also probably immune to Charm, so in reality what she's probably doing is just giving them rage and then they kill her.
I guess, like, the one upside that she has is that she resists a bunch of, like, movement restriction effects, but you still have to move her, right? And that's a downside in and of itself.
Right.
I guess her element's appropriate because she's a real zero. Ignore those zero units who are actually useful.
Okay, there's nothing else to talk about this unit. I think everyone's tired of looking at her.
We didn't talk about her art. She's so
heterosexual. And, yeah, let's not.
This is what the big jug.
This is what happens when you let the straights design anything.
I mean, I think she is like the most sexualized woman in this game. I think
it's like grotesquely big boobed, which, you know, I guess is technically acceptable because they're not human. But, you know, you see this sort of shit in like straight porn all the time when they make them extremely unrealistic proportions without even being unserious about it. They're just like unironically into that. Cannot believe this.
I mean, honestly I don't mind the art itself, but this kit just makes me like gag. It's so bad.
I'd rather gag with a different unit, but sure.
I feel like I had something else to say about Baphomet, but I don't even remember anymore.
I'm reading the chat. So, it's nothing, yay, well said, Gazer.
Oh, right, it was, I'm amused that your team's selection for the video.
Yeah.
Enigma and Fenrir are definite choices for this.
Listen, it synergizes because, one, we can separate Doubt with Tsukuyomi. And two, I needed to make sure the units weren't too strong because otherwise Baphomet wouldn't do anything, so therefore...
Yeah, because Enigma and Fenrir both do fuck all damage.
Jesus Christ, I can't believe this.
So therefore, it's a good team for shit units. So there you go.
Awesome.
Alright, I'm reading the chat for you this time. It's definitely nothing. Hooray! Can't spell Baphomet without that's not a good joke. I guess you can't spell Baphomet without mid, I guess. Also, Baphomet is non-binary, referred with they, them, as I've been told. Well, that's how I'm referring to them, since I'm not ever going to address them.
Is that right?
It's something like their depictions, they always have boobs. That's the thing. They always have boobs. So I'm assuming that they also have some masculine traits that make it so that you could misconstrue them as both. And I guess in the lore, apparently the bio says something about it. But I mean, I care so little about Baphomet that I didn't read into it myself.
Oh, whoops! I've been misgendering them this whole time then. Oh yeah, and the wiki also displays them as male for their sex and gender, but that's.
Let's not trust that gender because that just causes controversy.
When you called her or Baphomet a she earlier in the review, I was about to yell she.
Listen, I'm aware that it may possibly be ambiguous.
Look. To be fair, none of this shit is translated already.
Yeah, that's my getaway. It's like if it's not translated, then it's like I'm gonna. Is this designed for like homosexuals? No, so I'm gonna assume it's designed for like people who want to believe this is a girl. So you can't tell me the chick with the biggest boobs are designed for. Oh yeah, they're non-binary. They're for people who are into that. Like seriously, you can't tell me that. Like I will wait for their own identification when they're translated. Fine. Sure, but right now it's like it's not. So that's
Baphomet is the fucking tucking prodigy. What the hell?
I don't know what this means.
Okay. Can we not interrupt me reading the chat so we can get over Baphomet sooner? Jeez. What was I even reading? I don't know.
Delay Sanzo as much as possible.
No,
that's too much Baphomet.
Which makes sense because of the mythological equivalent.
Which makes sense because of mythological equivalent. Thank you. What were they trying to accomplish with Baphomet being the most underwhelming boss killer? I'm not even gonna call them boss killer because they're dueling, but I'm not gonna say they're boss killing. All they do is just greatly reduce damage. The only amp they have is like nourishment and rage. Really, it's like
also her base attack is atrocious.
Yeah, so she's not a boss killer. Don't mistake boss killer for a dueler. They're not necessarily one and the same. It just means, honestly, the best kind of dueler is a boss killer, and they're not even that great. But if you're a dueler but not a boss killer, then you obviously have an extreme problem. So that's Baphomet. Time for CP to enemies. I mean, there's a few ways to do it, but it's not worth it for Baphomet. Big build of them to this, I'm sure. Baphomet also doesn't know if they're a man or woman in chapter 15, but spoilers. Well, if it's spoilers, then why would he even say that? Like, seriously, calm your tits. Calm your tits. Stop. What I missed?
Baphomet's tits.
Calm Baphomet's tits, for real. Too large. Get them out of the screen already. Baphomet is a hermaphrodite deity. In the game, they are unable to tell if they're male or female. Okay, well, I'm gonna refer Baphomet to that one meme about breast reduction surgery because I think they may need it. We are going to...
Looks female enough.
We're going to now talk about the first good unit of the batch of chapter 15. We're getting we're in the studio out of the way first. So, go ahead. This is going to be covered by Harvey Kais. Oh, shoot. This is going to be Sanzo. Whenever you're ready.
Right. Okay, good. I need to collect myself for this. So I'll talk about his 3-star after this discussion. Or not after this discussion, after I talk about his 1-star.
Yeah, I'll switch to it when you do.
Yeah. So Sanzo is like, if you had Maria, but Maria had like good offensive capabilities for your team. So he could do 2 things, and actually both at the same time, because they're not... I'll get into it later. So the most important part about his kit is that he bestows crit plus to an ally in front of him at a 90% rate on miss. So this is like over the amount of Christmas Tita's multipliers for 1 unit, and if he's below 30% HP, that increases to crit plus. Which is actually kind of relevant because of how the other half of his kit functions. So he naturally gains aggro to himself with the on miss taunt, and he has 3 different effects when he's hit. Those being Curse, Stigma, and Skill Log. And they're all somewhat mediocre rates, but they're not bad rates either, since he will be getting hit a lot, presumably. And he does also have a good amount of damage mitigation on himself via protection to himself on third start, as well as taunt strengthening, which reduces damage as long as he has taunt, which he will have taunt permanently. And he also has a fair amount of damage mitigation for his allies, since he has protection at the end of the move phase in an adjacent range. So he's actually mitigating a fair amount of damage just for existing. Oh yeah, let's see. He also has a turn start effect where he bestows Purification if his HP is at 100%. And this is pretty good if you can maintain his HP, but he doesn't really have any healing in his kit, so you will need to team build around that if you want to get the most out of it. If his CP is at 100, he'll gain combo at turn start, which is pretty good because it allows him to continue to keep missing and reapplying taunt and bestowing crits with an ally in front of him, even if he CS's. But he won't be CSing too often because he doesn't have any CP generation, and his CS range is also bad. It's thrust range, and the effect isn't too noteworthy. It's just global glint and defense up to himself and allies. And defense up isn't really the greatest damage mitigator at level 1, so you can kind of just skip this. His 3-star is similar in the it's the same. He's basically the same unit, but he actually bestows crit still as long as he's above 70% HP at the same rate too. So he's actually a fairly good pocket buffer even as a 3-star. And he still maintains Purification to an ally in front of him. It's out of worst range, but it is a more accessible version of it compared to, like, I don't know, fucking Israfil 5. And he does still maintain some amount of tankiness via Curse when hit and protection. Although the protection to his allies is at a worse range. Alright. So yeah, he does a fair amount of stuff just for existing. He buffs an ally in front of him, and he reduces damage, as well as being able to skill lock anyone who hits him. So yeah, he's a very decent flex unit for HGQs. I wouldn't use him too much for farming unless you're like using Summer Shiva and like using that crit plus. Oh yeah, and a fun thing you can do with them is if you manage to keep his HP just below the 30% threshold, if you give him combo and the Shennong Housamo AR, which heals him when missing, he'll be able to bestow both crit plus and crit plus plus in the same turn, which is pretty funny, but it's not very practical because we don't really have a decent way to reduce ally HP at or at least like not substantially. We have like Yuritoma and I guess let's go through the guy, but I wouldn't really use those. I wouldn't really use those with this unit.
I kept on seeing people in the server melding over trying to get both crits off, and like, why are you trying so hard for this?
Because it's a good meme, big numbers.
Like, there's so much easy ways. And you like need him to be at full charge to get combo. It's like, this is never gonna happen. Like, Jesus Christ.
It's never gonna happen, but it's very funny for like
just
damage per screenshot showcases.
Oh my god. Just like
it's
hide
like,
the turn count being like 57 or some shit like that.
Like if you use him with Kokopelli with that strat, it's like a 350 times multiplier for an attack. So yeah. But yeah, he's a very solid 4-star. despite everything. And but by that I mean I don't like how he looks, but I'll discuss that later.
I like how that's a separate section. I don't like how you look. I don't like how you walk. You should go return to what a dog pound you came from.
I just think it's a lot of missed opportunities. You know.
Hence why he misses. I see what you mean.
Yeah. Crit plus, pretty good for a 4-star to bestow. And his on-hit effects are quite good as well. So, quite the stacked unit. Yeah, I don't... For recommendations, you could just look at the gameplay for examples, I suppose.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all for me.
Okay. Well, he didn't really clarify. I mean, maybe kind of it's self-evident, but as you can see from all the examples, there's like a certain type of unit you want to pair Sanzo with, and because of just how strong he is both offensively and defensively, without needing to move all packages on the 4-star, he really works well for like solo carries, essentially. Like, maybe not the fastest wins, but if you have like even like live stream or something, I guess that could technically count as quick clearing. But yeah, it's very strong in this setup where you could just have your hyper strong thing that might die occasionally, just become even more burst with Sanzo, just constantly butt plugging them with protection and with heals and with additional damage and with debuffs to anyone that dares challenge them, and even debuff indication occasionally. It's kind of insane. There is one thing that's somewhat interesting about Sanzo though. It's his purification is he's an unranged unit, so whenever he's hit, he actually doesn't get any charge fill up, but because of that, it means he has no native way of building his charge, and he has no native way of what's called, I guess, getting his combo or whatever up, and that's like, you're just gonna need like another unit to, I guess, work towards his charge. But then again, his charge itself is not very impressive unless you're trying to go for that stupid double crit meme, which, like, why would he do that? I don't understand.
Yeah, so I guess that makes it even less likely to happen unless he just brings someone who can give him combo.
Yeah, seriously.
Well, luckily we do have someone like that, and they have a pretty insane combo pistol, probably the best in the game right
now. All right, but yeah, I think, as you can see, whether you're using Seth or Kirito or like Masashi, this is like people who don't like thinking about the perfect team but can't have enough room in their brain for at least 2 units. Not even 2 units. You could just put Sanzo in the back without even knowing what he does. Then yeah, this will be perfect for you guys who likes to do your clears without thinking. Sanzo is the perfect unit to that.
The cynical part of me wants to say that if you really wanted a damage buffer, you could just use Lianan, but I guess the advantage is that since Sanzo doesn't need to.
Yes, that's a great advantage. And also Lianan also,
you can have the carry.
Some people suck with Lianan even then because they might use her inappropriately without proper defensive strategies, right?
I think that's a skill issue.
Well, yes, that's the whole point of why you use units like that, right? So, but at least with Sanzo, they also have like a defensive crutch that Lianan does not have, obviously.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not to mention that Crit Plus is a more unique modifier compared to everything that Lianan has.
But yeah, I think Sanzo's good. Like, even if it were just the crit plus on miss, I think it would be fine like that. Okay, well, maybe not if he had no part of the rest of his kit. But yeah, he provides a decent spread of buffs and a bit of healing unreliably. So I think that's good. It's maybe questionable how he will always attract attention to his whoever he's buffing. But I mean, they're being protected, so it's fine.
Yeah.
I guess you could also use him like Katoblapas by sitting him in the corner and taunting forever, but at that point, just use Katoblapas.
Yeah, he just has
actually, I guess Sanzo's Stigma and Skill Lock is good too.
Yeah, so he's already better than Katoblapas in that sense.
Yeah, he's viable because Katoblapas' charm sucks.
Yeah, he has Crit Plus and Protection just for existing, and if that wasn't enough, he also has fucking Curse and Skill Lock defensively, and as well as the taunt strengthening. So he's fairly tanky. I think the biggest issue for me is that he doesn't have healing built in his kit, except for the after buff to allies. But you really want to. There are quests where you kind of want to maintain that purification, but you just he just can't do that by himself. You do need like other sources of healing for him, whether that be like regen effects or actual healing skills.
I guess he just like pair with
for him or his partner.
For herself, to keep on giving purification.
This is a partner for Hoikyu Kami's story variant. There you go. Lots of healing and soul carrying.
Yuck.
I know, right?
I mean, I guess the Shennong AR is good in that case. The one you were referring to earlier, because that will, he'll heal himself at least.
Yeah.
It's not
I kind of prefer the Gabe Nobad one, the one that increases proc rate, just to make sure that all of his shit procs when he's hit.
It's a pretty interesting kit, honestly, with the way they handled its charges being this complete nothing thing that they even had like a get out of jail free card when it does go up by giving combo, just in case, so you can still do your normal thing. And like, there's no effects that really doubles besides like crit and crit plus plus, so combo's literally strictly there just so that you can keep on missing normally, which is a bit funny.
Yeah, I feel units could fucking learn from that, to be honest.
What's her face? Quantum already has that built in, where she gives herself combo to make sure that she does whatever her current phase is.
Does there even a combo on like...
would be pretty good with Sanzo, to be honest, because of damage reversal.
Yeah. Anyway, Sanzo's pretty good. Definitely, if you got this one, whether it's 3-star or a 4-star, you won pretty decently. Go ahead and read the chat, Harvey, and then we can
go ahead and complain about his appearance, Harvey.
All right, that is that too.
Right, he should have been an old man. I don't care.
He should return to the West.
Why are you white? Where's my hot old man guildmaster? What's with this fucking Wakan 2.5 looking ass?
What is that? Wakan 2.5? Are you serious? What is he supposed to be older? I'm gonna Google it right now. But yeah, go on.
If he was Sanzang, then yes, he would be, or at least he would be older than he is here.
Sanzan period. I have no. I'll just ask that later.
Sanzo or Tang Sanzang. I don't know why.
I'm not that curious. I changed my mind. I'm not gonna look it up.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the more common depiction of him is like him being like an older monk, but
he should be dressed in white robes with a funny hat.
Harvey's just crying because he has no one to ship Tianzin with a proper bear that's not an actual bear.
That's fine. The Life Wonders mandated Tianzin ship is with Qinglong, but no one cares about that because they have no taste.
Alright, we're going to let Harvey yap on about this, so read the chat.
Where did we leave off in the comments?
That's a good question. Something about Baphomet being...
Hi, Arasi.
There you are.
It's Joe. Hello. Hi, Arasi. Also, Harvey, you're fat.
This is true.
I just quickly look at Baphomet kit. Just look like a movement restrictor or something. No, not really. Sanzo, yeah, that's him, alright. The resistance to move restriction and doesn't actually restrict movement themselves. Wish he had more ominous to use that combo. I'm fine with this kit as is, to be honest. But I guess like healing would be decent, maybe. I don't know.
It is strange to see combo without anything that's multi-rollable.
I don't think it matters too much because you're never gonna get his fucking CS off anyways.
Yeah.
So anyone knows what season of Teen Mom is Sanzo starring in? Alright, this is the Empreg guy, if you haven't heard. Like, he's canonically been, like, pregnant.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know that, but okay.
From who?
Apparently there's a lot of rumors about what Sanzo's like before he even came out. Apparently he's like that. Sure.
Interesting suggestion for Summer Shiva, but almost roll still pulling a lot away from me, especially for Benus with Bind and Hit, looking at Loki. You can use them at the same time now, because Crit Plus will stack with Jolol's Crit on move. So, yeah. Decent multipliers just from that. Also Purification. Housamo finally committed to the Mpreg bet. Show don't tell, that's what Housamo world building is still legit.
Is he from Xanadu or something?
He is... I forgot where he's from. He should be from the same place as, like, gangly.
Penglai.
Right? Yeah, whatever they call it. We finally got a good pick for Annie. Yeah, if you really like his kit, I think you should just wait until Anniversary to redeem him, because he is not limited. Also, this banner, in my opinion, kinda is on the lower... Well, I guess the 5-stars are decent, so if you really want them, you should roll for them, but don't roll for the 4-stars. Yes, it's true. The funny thing is Sanzo is depicted as extremely beautiful to the point he's constantly portrayed by female actors in plays and series of Journey to the West.
At least he didn't end up like that, Harvey.
I don't know. The series of Journey to the West I saw just had him as a normal Chinese guy.
Well, that's interesting. That's interesting to know. But yeah, I guess this is the better outcome? Question mark. Also, hi, Zalgi.
Wow, nickname basis, huh?
I've never had anyone call me that.
Do you feel touched, Zalgus? Do you feel something tickled in your heart?
I guess.
Alright, something I forgot to mention is that this guy kinda screams a lot in his voice lines when he's like below 50% HP. And then like, if he dies, it's like a really funny scream. I don't know how to describe it. But yeah, it's very loud.
Maybe I'll check it out from here. I didn't actually check the sound in your video. I just sort of like glanced over it and converted it.
Is he like freaking out like he is in the intro about why does he have to be the one doing this?
Yeah, basically. He drank the Mpreg water. Sorry, by the way, I can't stay for long. Busy day. Enjoy the stream, Zara. Heart emoji with hands. Bye, Pookies.
Later's nerd.
I don't know who that was.
Okay.
Bye, I guess.
We are going to be moving on to the next topic. Honestly, I should have started with this unit first before Sanzo, but I just kind of messed up the order, so we are dealing with it. We are now going to be talking about Kokopelli. This is going to be Harvey again. There is no rest for you. Go ahead.
I think you mean Ramatra. What's with the
Alright.
formatting on the skill? It looks a bit strange.
It's formatted by directly modifying the web page so that it's actually readable.
Oh, he's revealing his secrets. Okay, fair enough.
Alright, so Kokopelli, snipe, range, null unit. So the best way to describe this unit is he is very advantage stage or state based, and by that I mean he manipulates RNG in your favor, and also manipulates positioning in a very unconventional manner. So I'll get to that in a bit. So his most useful, or his most unique effect is the status that he bestows onto enemies on phase start, which is that they will apply weakness, stigma, and freeze themselves at a 30% rate before being attacked. And together these multipliers add up to around 12x. So they're it's pretty massive for a 4-star, but you will have to roll for that 30% somehow. And let's see. So aside from that, he has evasion to himself for being attacked at 30% rate. Also pretty shit, but at least you can increase this one if you need to. When I was talking about positioning manipulation, I was referring to how he pushes back enemies when they hit him, and he also bestows anchor to himself when stationary. So that in itself was what I meant by advantage state. He by putting the enemies in a worse position and while giving himself a buff in that regard, so that he can't get pulled or pushed away.
So he's like pushing the zone essentially.
Yeah. And he also decreases enemy HP when he's hit. So he's kind of a Punisher in that sense. Although it's not that great. I think you'll have better options in that regard. But he does have phase start healings himself, so he's not built like paper, I guess. It's not great though. Yeah, and he also has CS lock to hitting units. Again, Sanzo is better in this regard, but if you really like gambling with evasion and like that fucking debuff status on enemies, I guess this is your unit. He has a really shitty afterbreath effect at 4 CP at 80% rate. I don't know why they would do this to him. It's pretty ass. It's like it's reasonable than like Pazuzu's 4 CP thing, but yeah. Okay, yeah. And so he also has a fair amount of RNG manipulation, as I said before. He has prayer to himself when appearing, so a good amount of his rates will be bumped up to more usable standards. And he also has obstruct and drain resistance on phase start in a diamond radius. And this is pretty neat, since those are both effects that reduce skill rate procs. So yeah, definitely not a farming unit. He has no reliable amps. They're all on his Logic Bomb X effect with a weakness, Sigma, and Freeze. But for challenge quests, he's quite good if you run a lot of combo-based units. And he actually does bestow combo in his CS, but it's not at a great range. And he does reapply the Logic Bomb effect on his CS as well. So it may be worth using SC battery with them, if applicable. And I guess the Echo Skiba would be good for that.
Yeah, as per the footage.
Sorry, what is that?
Just like the footage.
Yeah. So yeah, use combo effects if you want to really roll for that Logic Bomb effect. We do have a unit that we'll talk about later in this discussion stream that's really good for enabling him. But yeah, I think the only case where you'd use him in a farming quest is if you need to block, obstruct, and drain, and you had like all your other bases covered in terms of damage amp, because he has like nothing when it comes to reliable amps. ARs, I don't think he really has any good ARs besides yeah, I don't think he has anything actually.
Well,
maybe.
Is there any combo ARs? I
Zero unit
feel like there's a few ones. Maybe not. Not for his
Well,
type
not
and
that he
range.
can equip.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
there's
like shooting stars, but he can't equip that.
yeah. I guess the 4-star anniversary Genociders AR would be decent if you want to hone in on that extra debuff indication. Yeah.
Does that really synergize with his kit for debuff negation?
Well, it's if you get like skill lock somehow, that yeah, he can't really block that.
I mean,
And he
that's very specific.
No, what I mean is that there is like some incentive to him getting hit a fair amount. So if that's happening, you might as well dip into that.
Okay. Sure.
I don't know. There's no good ARs for him. Fucking Kushi Labe, I guess. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, yeah,
The thing that you
more
put
rate
on every
modification,
single utility snipe/magic range unit.
Yeah, don't overthink it. He's not gonna be live or die by his AR.
Yeah. Art-wise, he's alright. I like his 3-star Sax skin more than his actual 4-star art.
I thought it was
quite
kind of bizarre
remarkable
seeing his
for
Sax
Overwatch.
Bun Street. I was like, why is this here? Normally I'd be into it,
Although
but
they
like
can
his
make
base form
full-star
looks
art.
cool enough, so I'm just like, why would I switch to this bizarre ass fucking Israel ass wannabe out costume?
So that they can make a 4-star art for him later where he's tooting on his sax.
Saxophones are cool, you're just a hater.
I think they're cool, but it's just like strikingly literally out of nowhere. At least to wait for an event to release. Don't just like release it right away. It's so out of place.
they should have given him a hat to complete the outfit. That would have fixed it.
Yeah, sure.
Oh yeah, I was. I mentioned this earlier in the stream, but yeah, this is a unit that would benefit a lot from the LA Gurngotch combo that I mentioned. Because more possessed enemies on the board means that they'll have a higher chance to proc the Russian roulette effect.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that synergy was Gordon Gotch and Ellie. You're a big fan of that one, huh?
It's a safe for me right now. But yeah. Other than that, use the 1 5-star on the spanner who shall not be named until later.
Right. I mean, we can mention briefly what it is. It's like it's the first skill line. It's like, yes, you can use Nyarlathotep for this. That would be a good footage for that. But I didn't combine them.
Spoilers.
It's just
We'll
a
get to it.
secret.
We're not gonna elaborate on it, but yeah, he'd be good for this too. We're not gonna say why. Anyway, I think there are other units that can synergize with us, and it seems like Life Wonders really wants this to be a thing where you make your own challenge quest if they didn't make their own. So instead of like playing with their non-existent rules of like Guts and Evasion or something, you just instead bring a bunch of units that can add the special effects in the game yourself. So bring in fucking Arc for Bind, Shambhavan for Break, Michael, which we'll get to for skill lock. And then you can just throw in like units like Echo, Oscar, Nyarlathotep, Livestreamer for board-wide shit, and then, you know, there's our challenge. Just a bunch of debuffs sometimes, not always.
I guess you could, let's talk about Quantum.
Does Quantum's? Oh yeah, Quantum's black box is not guaranteed.
Oh, you mean having rates that are all not guaranteed?
Yes.
I thought you were just
Quantum is like
debuffing
an
enemies,
HD
but-
kit in of itself, so
It's like too much I have to remember. I know what you're talking about though. It's a black box which is guaranteed in the center of magic range. But yeah, this is definitely not, like Harvey said, not usable for farming, but it's pretty good for challenges that just have a bunch of enemies bundled up together. Because like it's very extreme. I can't even name another unit that has 3 different defense mitigations. Like it's easy to find like damage amps, but defense mitigations all stacked together, it's pretty rare. And I know it's like lockdown is shit rate, but there's like very few of them.
there's Corp 5. Stackable freeze.
Well, instant,
True.
that's true, but that makes me think this is even better than just because it's instant stacks. Even if it's a shit rate, it's still technically possible to do it in the first turn.
I feel like there's someone in the back of my mind, but I can't bother to remember it right now. He would have been good for that April Fool's quest, I guess.
Yeah. This is a unit that you use for like the damage per screenshot meme. Just like showing off your fat numbers. And he's very economical too as a 4-star.
Yeah.
I guess his
Dark.
3-star has a worse version of it because it applies 2 of them and it's a terrible range, but I guess you could do that too.
Yeah, I don't think his 3-star is worth looking at, not gonna lie.
Well,
It's like
I might, but that hasn't been relevant for a hot minute, so...
it's strictly worse in like every regard. Instead of prayer on appearance, it's fucking glint. Like, are you kidding me?
I mean, you might like it, Zalgus, just because he's the 3-star dude that does 3-star. I'm not sure if he's done one in a while, but he does have 2.
I haven't done anything in a while.
Yeah, but it's not the same Russian roulette. You need to pay attention here that he actually does not have freeze on his 3-star, even though it's still called Russian roulette. And also, it's not board wide. So at that point, you might as well use
It's
something.
in, it's in Slash Frost, but I mean, having 2 debuffs still makes him on the higher end of 3-stars because most of them are to 1. But,
Zalgus currently cooking something in his head that should not have been brought up the kitchen.
I'm
I
definitely
think
not.
he would be better off using Sanzo's 3-star because he has
Yeah,
crit
probably.
at a better rate. And also has better protection.
You know what is based about Kokopelli? He has drain resistance to Waterway Baphomet.
Oh,
Such
true.
a-
The lore foreshadowing. I don't know.
It's such
I
a
don't
strange
know.
utility. Like, it could help, yes, but we don't have any quests like that. I mean, I guess Oscar bestows or inflicts strain, but are you really gonna... abstract rather, but I don't think like you're gonna bring an entire unit just for that.
I meant more like he wards away the Baphomet from your team.
I know, but like, it's such a strange utility to have in the first place, these random resistance effects.
I don't mind it. It's thematic, and it can be helpful depending on the quest, like Smoky God Refrain.
You know what would be thematic? If he had like self-bestowed obstruct and drain like Baphomet, but it was actually good, and you know, came packaged in with like obstruct and drain strengthening board wide guaranteed. Not this fucking
you're asking,
shit.
you're asking for too much. Just be happy with the stupid ass Russian roulette skill.
Sure. Okay, we can read the very middle amount of chat.
No one cares about our Matra Overwatch.
I like his dreads, I guess.
They're pretty cool,
like,
especially when you know what the original Kokopelli looks like.
Is that like the only hairstyle robots can have?
What? I mean,
Ramatra
like,
Overwatch also has like the same hairstyle.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't know who that is.
I mean, originally I thought it was a pretty neat concept of like incorporating how like robotic wires would work. Not sure this is the same thing anymore. I think it was just that's just actually hair. I don't know.
Don't know. It reminds me of the Predator movie, though.
Yeah. All right. Harvey, Mad, Joe. Pretty wild for Life Winners to give us a unit powered by S-Word. Oh yeah, he is fighting that rifle out of himself. Oh, it's a flute gun, or it's supposed to be a flute gun, but I don't. It does look like he's committing Persona 3.
Oh, I assume that's what he was doing.
And I guess it makes sense because, you know, Russian roulette, whatever. Flute rifle weapon. New me bedroom at 7, we said all this.
You'll have time for this later, Harvey. Not on stream, though.
Seeing him with his rifle pointing at him like this is just funny, man. LOL. There's another character I know that uses a sword and gun as a violin that works what it does, but this just looks absurd. I think I know what character you're talking about. I don't know the name of them now.
Kokopelli is my spirit animal when I'm feeling down. I'm just like, that should be me.
Native American robot flute playing fertility god hot. I like the threads. Cyborg insect too. I like it's a hunting saxophone. Is that a what is that? Trombone? I don't know.
It's a horn.
It looks more like a French horn.
Yeah, it's a fuck. I'm so tired right now.
Well, it's the home stretch, but yeah, you've been talking well. Sorry about that. But we are taking a break from you soon, and we're hopping on to Zalgus part. You good? Okay. We are going to be moving on to Michael. This is going to be covered by Zalgus. Go ahead whenever you're ready.
Unfortunately, I didn't think of a Michael joke to preface this, but sure. So, after a million years, Archangel Michael finally descends upon us. So, I'll talk about the parts not wholly related to his extreme damage first. When appearing, Michael applies a buff to himself and allies globally, which grants the skill, when stationary, CP plus 10 for 11 turns. So, this is essentially 10 turns due to the timing. And effectively guarantees that everyone on his team will get their CS within 10 turns. It's not the largest amount of CP, but it's guaranteed, so it can be a nice bonus for just having Michael. Maybe not if you have units who don't want to CS. Maybe consider that Michael will make them CS eventually, but otherwise it's nice enough to have. Phase start, he applies a debuff to enemies that grants them the skill before being attacked, skill lock self at 50% rate. So 50% as a rate kind of sucks, but you do at least get multiple chances to skill lock them anytime anyone attacks. The debuff lasts 4 turns, so you've got a decent shot at skill locking them sooner or later. What was it this stream where we were talking about that had a 50% rate, and then I made a joke about how it's actually 75% rate combo? I forget what it was.
I think it was Fear
Echo
from
Fear.
Echo. Yeah.
Oh right, yeah, Echo Sphere. I guess you could treat it the same way like that. Or Steel Lock is debatably more debilitating. But yeah, as far as skill locking go, the main advantage of Michael's skill lock here is that it requires no movement from him or anyone else. There's Toji's double lock skill, Valentine's Toji's double lock skill from his Evo, but that requires him to move on phase 1. That has the advantage of being 100% rate though. And then there's someone like Taramighty who just has a really high base infliction rate, although her range is slightly hampered by being thrust, but it has a spread at least. So, but Michael's is kind of meh in terms of the base rate, but it's automatic, it's global, so it's fine. You can find ways to take advantage of it by just having many units hit or use combo or something. On phase start, Michael removes all debuffs to all allies all around. This has been seen before on a few units. I think the earliest instance of it was Tomte, who is not relevant anymore. More recently, Fafnir 5 has it. So it's, I mean, there's not much to say about it. It's just nice to have when it's relevant. Anytime any enemies like inundate you with debuffs before the next phase, and you just want to get rid of it. After hitting, he applies Blessing to allies all around. I think this one's just thematic, really, because nothing in the rest of his kit really goes with Blessing or Sustain, so whatever, I guess. Michael is also immune to Stigma, and also has a 2x advantage versus it, which is also...
Are we reading these line by line?
Huh? No, I'm just going through the easy stuff first.
Oh, okay.
Or, I mean, I skipped the first stuff.
I guess it's just weird to be talking about Blessing like that. It's kind of unimportant, so might as well just throw it at the end. Well, maybe that's just different how we'd approach it.
Well, I did that for something else later in the other 5-star, but anyway, his advantage will be relevant when I explain his application. So, Michael's most noticeable trait is how much damage he does. He's got plenty of it. On turn start, he applies 3 buffs to himself, Attack Up, Vigor, and Concentration, and these will continue to refresh themselves for 5, 4, 3 turns respectively. This means that at most, you will get 2 applications of each of them for the entire battle. In the event that Michael gets these buffs removed for some reason, be it some ally on his team steals them or the enemy just removes them, as long as it's still in those early turns, he'll just reapply them immediately, or on the next turn start. So Concentration, the shortest buff, will expire on turn 5. Vigor will expire next on turn 7, and Attack Up will expire on turn 9. So Michael's window to deal the most damage is limited to the first 5 turns. Or
4 turns.
4 turns, I guess. Making his ideal use case to clear out phases quickly, unless you want to just have someone else replace his buffs. So we've immediately established Michael's damage output is really high, so it's nice to see also that Michael has increased omnidirectional movement. I think this marks our first long slash unit who has increased horizontal movement.
Yeah.
This was a thing we were complaining about for a few streams now, or mainly Ara, but many long slash units got vertical movement for some reason. Like, I think Otter has it, and there are other units, I'm sure. Yeah, Cthulhu. For some bizarre reason, when horizontal would be a lot better for that turn 1 positioning. Michael decided he wants both, though. It must be all those wings he has. But yes, so Michael's really good at positioning, which is good as a long slash unit since you want him to be able to position in the middle right away, and he does have reasons to move, but I'll get to that later. So when Michael attacks, he has a disgustingly low 60% burn rate to enemies hit and those behind. I don't know why this is at such an awful rate, even with concentration at 70%, which you can really only bring it up to 90% with Glint and Seeds. If you have Prayer,
where are you getting Glint 100. From?
Glint?
I guess just from outside shell.
I'm saying if you give him Glint and Seeds, then you can get up to 90% because Glint is...
They like to give the weakest stamp like a share rate, like with Kia going in being the only unguaranteed part or some shit like that, with a burn weakening or some shit like that. It's like it's better off to just not include it in calculations since it's such a small amount anyways.
I mean, I guess that's fine, but yeah. Ironically, his 3-star actually has a better burn rate of 70%, but that doesn't have the spread or the incentive to burn enemies anyway. And when Michael moves, he grants burn advantage to himself and allies around him, which is just a 1.5 damage boost. It's a low boost, but it's more damage to his already considerable power. Lastly, when Michael moves, he will apply a debuff to an enemy in below range, which causes that enemy to inflict stigma on the entire enemy board at 100% rate when attacked. With Michael's Omni movement, it's pretty easy to make sure he always has a target to spread stigma with, so he can get the stigma up pretty easily. And his CS is a magic range attack that just inflicts weakness, deals 3 times damage to weakness, and grants self evasion and heals ally around self. It's a lot of extra damage because of the weakness advantage, but there's not much to say about it besides that. It's also different from his normal range, so that could possibly be bad, but I guess he could just back up. He has Omni movement, so that doesn't really hamper him. So, let's talk about his damage calculations. If he has his buffs alone, so without burn or stigma, Michael will deal 22.6k damage, which is a excellent point to build off of.
Floor, yeah.
If you add burn, that brings it to 33.9k, and stigma, which he has an advantage against, and is also a damage amplifier itself, brings it to 156k damage. You can reduce that slightly for burn, I guess, if you don't take advantage of that, or don't get it. So obviously Michael's got some pretty high damage. As far as long slashes go, he's one of the hardest hitters, if not the hardest hitter. I didn't like comparing.
I'm pretty sure he's the hardest hitter, honestly. It's kind of ridiculous how much his damage is.
I didn't compare him against like Nightglow's Cthulhu, so I couldn't be bothered. But yeah, he's almost certainly one of the most reliable because the only requirement really is that he move, and his rates are quite high, except for his burn, but his burn is his weakest thing, as Ara said. But most importantly, he is the only long slash with horizontal movement, which
by default makes him insanely good, just because no one else can compete.
It's more reliable in that aspect. You could also just bring your own Stigma Inflictor and just ignore his burn, and then you don't have to move Michael necessarily. But being able to spread it across the entire board is nice. It just makes it so that Michael can just continue advancing it and not care where he's positioned. He'll just keep hitting them with full stigma because they'll have had stigma inflicted on them prior. So in summary, I'd say Michael's biggest thing is just about being a hard-hitting long slash unit who actually has horizontal movement. You can kind of just summarize it as that, honestly. I think his lesser stuff, like his skill lock to enemies when hit or when being hit, is not quite as interesting.
I think it's interesting, but it's just like completely drowned out by the insane damage.
Yeah, Michael's got some pretty big damage going on. So
did he calculate his charge damage, by the way?
I did not, unfortunately.
It's 13 million. Yeah, I know.
Wow.
No help. It's funny.
But yeah, that's about it. A very big damage boy.
Oh. Yeah, so from my experiences playing with him, I mean, he has big damage, but he has like next to zero defenses besides that skill lock, which can be helpful, but it's also not reliable. So it's like really the one and only thing. You can like pretty much ignore most of his defensive stuff for his most relevant purpose, which is just farming. And he's like kind of like maybe the first actual good long slash unit for farming, for damage dealing directly. Because like a lot of other ones had so much fucking caveats with Tangoro and Mugen not being able to get to the center, and like Gordon not being able to move and not being reliable, and none of them being able to move to the center by themselves. It's fucking ridiculous. You have to waste like a slot just so that to make sure they'd get to the center where they wouldn't be able to do full damage half the time anyways. But Michael does that all on his own, which is incredible. And even if you don't move him directly, he still does like an insane amount of damage, like perfectly enough to kill enemies. And you know, if it's not, then he does have a guild. You could just invest in Rulemakers and make him even more ridiculously strong at that point too. But yeah, he's really the first long slash unit to have horizontal movement. I can't understate how big that is. It sounds like such a minor thing, but because of how painful it was, the term column clearing has like, and board wiping has had a huge grip on farming in general, that those are like the two archetypes people automatically think about, because there's like zero room for slash units, and it's not necessarily their fault. Part of it is just because, you know, they can't be designed to guaranteedly hit every square just by themselves, but it's also just because they are designed to be shit in the first place to not be able to farm, whether it's unreliability or like lack of mobility to get in position and all that. But thankfully, Michael is a very strong step towards correcting all of that. Of course, Taishakutin could do have a lot of additional detail too as long slash unit, but he doesn't have that extent movement to actually get to the center, just like Michael did. That was a weird cut. But besides that, he can. as a unit you form is, of course, you can't hit every square, just the entire front row, which is still impressive. But that means necessarily for these quests, you're going to want to bring units that can poke in the back for whatever ARF units, such as in footage right now with the new Blossom quest, or old one, I guess, chapter 14. You can ferry him with whoever he spawns nearby to just poke whoever's in the back, preferably with a magic unit you have on the opposite side so that they can poke no matter where they spawn. As you can see with that footage, Michael, otherwise known as Mikhail, is actually kind of extremely perfect when it comes to the Chapter 14 Attack Blossom quest featuring Overlord. He might actually be like the best possible unit to have, other than, you know, just Unrise for the coin bonus and all that. Even if
Why
you can't...
was Kresnik there?
Kresnik? There's like... I can explain that, but this is not the place for it right now. It's... Well, look right here. You can see Michael's actually being leveled up, so that's why I have every single other slot is just mentors. So I'm actually using it for leveling up units, Michael, right now. And yeah, he's like super strong. I am using Rulemaker's Affiliation because he's not fully leveled up, but he would be able to clear otherwise. And he just kind of almost resolves like all the challenges requirements perfectly on his own. Of course, he still needs someone to poke him back, but if you're bringing double Envari by necessity just because of the coin bonus, then yeah, Mikhail is definitely strong enough to handle it, just because he can ferry the Envari spawns next to him right next to Kirito, and he can also, you can have another Envari take care of the opposite Oscar, and then he removes all debuffs at a very reliable rate, which is quite nice to have, because if you do that, actually it's guaranteed on the second turn because of concentration. So he will just guaranteedly remove the skill lock that Kirito inflicts on Envari, so that he can Envari can do massive damage to Overlord, and his damage is sufficient on his own that you don't necessarily need to move if you invest in Rule Makers. And you can also move if he's not inflicted with confusion, for example. I should continue looking at footage. Then he'll be able to ferry the other Envari to poke Overlord from the left side. But if not, then I guess he can move Envari directly at that point. There's a bit of failure in this round, but I'm not talking about this one. But he's like extremely good. This is probably the best possible quest Mikhail has in the entire game, and he's like, it's a very, very relevant quest. So it's like possibly the most important quest for a lot of people. Never mind the coin dailies. So he's definitely like, I might even overrate him for the coming evaluation just because he's good at that quest. But with that said, he's not actually that super good outside of such a well-built quest for him like that, just because, you know, there's not necessarily enemies directly in front of him, and they may be, you know, he might not be able to apply Stigma at that rate, and he doesn't really have any defenses if he can't poke everyone in the back, besides the skill lock thing. And, you know, you might need someone like Boogeyman to pull people in so that he can actually inflict his Stigma diffusion within that central square. But yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on Michael. He's like extremely perfect for that one quest that everyone cares about, even if he's like only like pretty okay for everything else. He's like extremely good for one of the most relevant quests in the entire game.
I like how this is like our first white / DPS with like decent movement finally, and we still have people going, yeah, I'm gonna use Summer Oz with them. Come on, people.
Why?
Well, once you go board wipe, you can't go back, but I can understand their feeling of it.
There's no point in using... Wouldn't you just rather use Willy at that point?
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Well, they're both rule makers of the thing, so they can both invest in the affiliations, I think is what they're trying to say. Dip in the same
I'd be
orcs.
very impressed if even the affiliations trumped Willy's ×10 multiplier, essentially, from becoming Blow.
I think it's more like...
I mean, Michael's damage as he saw is insane too.
It doesn't matter if they're both rule makers, because Oz does not doesn't get like any benefit from having the same guild as them, because he's not the one doing the damage. The only thing that he benefit from is like
The rate up, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you might plan for an Oz board wipe with Oz literally doing the board wipe alongside Michael for some reason. I don't know.
What?
It's like, it's possible, I don't know.
I mean, I've had Oz do okay damage with his CS, but I definitely wouldn't. I likely would incorporate it into a strategy.
It's there for a reason. Just They didn't make him low range for his charge for no reason.
To charge his CS up.
We don't talk about that.
Yeah, please use Michael for his intended purpose as like an actual moving white / DPS. Don't fucking use somewhere else. You have better units for that, probably. I do kind of wish that he had like a pull so that you can reliably get the stigma proc onto an enemy, but I guess you have other allies that could do that for him.
They were exceptionally generous and very least otherwise, because they could have easily made someone who had a horizontal movement but had shit damage that was unreliable or something. But instead they decided to give him like extreme insane damage, which is pretty funny. And also having some other nice utility besides.
Yeah. The lack of defenses is like kind of scary to me, so I wouldn't really use them in HDQs as like a line clear. But yeah, he's very good for farming with just so much damage as a white slash, and also like really good movement.
Yeah,
You just use Willy for blast slays.
What? I mean, you could use Willy with Oz, but
I mean, wouldn't Harvey just use Willy for blind clears because it's Willy?
Yeah, he would, but like, you know.
I mean, if you're farming, you're not going to be like.
My point was that he doesn't have a lot of fail safes when like raw damage in white slash doesn't cut it. So
yeah, you can see in this footage here with the Outlaws, he's actually like taking quite a bit of damage. He's kind of paper thin if he doesn't kill instantly. So watch out for that. He's really better if you know the quest out of time.
Need that guts removal.
He's quite dependent on like his other allies to pick up the slack on their end. Because he's definitely clearing like his row at the very least, unless there's guts. But yeah,
definitely a unit you need to plan ahead of time, know what the quest is. But if you do, like literal god tier, I'm not sure how I'll rate him honestly. Maybe we'll give him 4 or 4.5, but I'm gonna cool off before I get too biased. He's kind of mid honestly outside of that. Anyway, I think that's all the thoughts. There's like barely any chat, but I'll read them out anyways because everyone loves Michael's that
You
much.
read them out. Excuse me.
Oh right, sorry. Go ahead.
putting Zalgi out of a job.
Sorry, I actually got Michael, so I got excited. Go ahead.
Well, so did I. It took forever, but Rulemakers finally have an ultimate unit. Yes, as previously discussed, please don't do that. Michael, like, he has nothing going for him except damage, and he has a lot of it, don't get me wrong, but if you really want to just damage, you should just pick Willy, because Willy's damage is unmatched. Fly appear on my screen. Smash it. Do not put my Lion Man next to this gremlin. Why not? My Oz is seeded and can do some decent damage. Yeah, my Oz is also seeded, and like max level, and yeah, his CS can do a decent amount of damage, but I would not be likely to rely on it to finish a phase. Well, most of the time anyway. I feel like I've had it happen sometimes. You can use him with X-Turing too for some high damage.
I keep on
teams.
forgetting that exists. That's such a strong utility, but I keep on forgetting that exists. His ability to let people share their buffs. That would be a good idea, honestly.
Yeah, as long as he doesn't get like phase start buffs, because those will go before his turn start, like attack up and vigor.
Yeah, so
I remember Irby said to me that Michael's just for Fafnir to pull steel buffs off of.
Jesus.
Which, I mean, I guess is a use.
Wouldn't Willy be better in that regard? Because he bestows more than just vigor and concentration. It's like accelerations, and also yeah.
I don't even
He
know.
also just has better.
He has like so much amps, I don't even remember. It's like, it's whatever. Isn't part of his amps like connected to like debuffs too, though? So that's not something that you can copy.
I'm saying like Willy provides more damage amps than Michael does because he only gives vigor and concentration, and Willy has acceleration and acceleration strengthening on top of that. So.
That's definitely a thing.
Also brawn too, so yeah, because the attack up overlaps. Anyways, you can keep on going.
Yeah, I'm
There's
like,
anything left?
are people really bullying Fafnir teams? Jeez.
But they're funny.
Okay.
They're funny sometimes. I really wish I could figure out how to do a 3-star Fafnir who keeps all buffs indefinitely, but I'll work on that later. It requires Beowulf, but
Right.
that's all the comments anyway.
Okay, we are finally moving on to the last topic. I wonder how many people actually even want Nyarlathotep. I know he's a pretty popular unit, but like, how popular is he that people would be pulling for this? So
Apparently, Abby said that some people were calling him the best unit on banner and must pull and all that stuff, which
I mean,
I disagree.
I don't
but-
necessarily disagree with that. There's like a strong point to be made, but you can
Well, I
talk
do.
about it yourself. So go ahead.
So finally, this guy gets his variant. Right, so a bit of boring stuff first. Fear and Stigma immunity. Fear immunity is nice, and Stigma is whatever. And that's the boring thing. Phase start, he applies Madness to the entire enemy board and also gives himself increased omnidirectional movement by 4, which essentially just gives him the ability to cover the entire board. This is like that one Sathogger Etho from forever ago that gives him extremely increased movement, although unlike Sath, Nyarl does it every phase start. So this makes it really, really easy for Nyarl to reposition your team as you please for every phase. Assuming your fingers are dexterous enough to do it every time. So it's definitely a nice utility to have. I mean, in my opinion, rarely do you have to reposition that much, but it's nice to have the option, especially for wide maps, or wide maps in general, honestly. The Madness, which reduces vertical movement, which is probably something that should be kept in mind because Madness appears a few times in this kit. It's useful to immediately disable enemy movement, although it's most effective on short-range enemies. If the enemies are like all snipe, then it's of debatable use, but it's still a thing. I guess it would prevent them from retreating as well. Right, so phase start, he applies 2 effects, one to self and allies, and one to enemies. To allies, he applies the skill after debuff, remove debuff at 80% rate. And to enemies, he applies the skill turn start, remove buff at 100% rate. And these both last for 5 turns. The debuff skill is identical to Pazuzu's one, it just lasts an additional turn. It just makes debuffs rarely stick, and 80% of the time they'll just get removed outright. And the enemy skill is nice for just reliably removing enemy buffs, since it's a 100% trigger rate, and global on phase stars. So for 5 turns, they'll just keep losing buffs. So no need to worry about positioning and such. These 2 skills, however, do have anti-synergy with Nyarl's own kits, so I'll go over that when that becomes relevant. He has 2 abilities when being hit, with slightly different timings that don't really matter too much. Before being hit, if his HP is above 30%, he will heal himself by 600 first. It can be decent sustain, since he just keeps reducing incoming damage by 600. With a bit of, with a single defense buff, honestly, he just becomes ridiculously tanky, because he'll basically just mitigate a decent portion of the amount of damage coming at him, unless he's being hit by someone who is actually a real hard hitter. The other effect is just decreasing enemy CP by 30% when he's hit, which I think that's a skill from his base kit, or his original version, or whatever. It's okay. Right, so when he moves, he has a few effects, and this is the part that I sort of talked about a bit more. When he moves, he grants combo to self, allies, and all enemies at a 100% rate. So having combos so easily obtainable to allies is quite impressive. We've discussed combos scarcity a few times in a few of the previous streams, and then here comes Nyarl, who just gives it globally, which I forget who it was previous that we were saying has power crept Beach Seth.
Jump one.
Right. Well, yeah, now we just have someone who just gives it globally. So if you really wanted combo on your allies for some reason, Nyarl will do it for you. Now, the giving it to enemy things is questionable. So, first of all, nothing in Nyarl's kit actually wants him to get hit, unless you count his healing and CP decrease, which I do not count. The second thing is, with the remove buff skill that Nyarl inflicts on enemies, they're actually running completely counter to each other. If you wanted to take advantage of the combo somehow, so say if you have like a bunch of units who have when being hit effects, there's a chance that the enemy will just completely lose the combo buff when their turn starts, depending on if they have some other buff. I don't know what the buff removal priority is. But if you didn't want to give them the combo, the enemy now has an additional buff that will potentially waste the remove buff proc instead of some other buff that, say, the enemy gives themselves. So say like they give themselves Vigor and you wanted to remove that Vigor, but it removes combo instead. It's running counter to itself. But yeah, the fact remains is that by giving combo, it's either going to get removed or it's potentially going to get in the way of a buff that you actually wanted to remove. So the enemy combo part is a bit of a stupid skill in my opinion that is largely detrimental. Like, one of the examples you gave, I think, Ara, was the so-called lost Gurungat synergy. Gurungat, who turns all the enemies into all range. You could have Nyarl give them all combo, which, you know, would be cool. They're all range, and now they're all combo. But Nyarl is going to remove one of them. So now, where's the synergy there? Yeah, I don't know why they made it like that, but it's weird. It runs counter to itself. But the global combo to allies is nice though. It's global. It's rare, and most of the time when we had it, it had to be like adjacent and stuff like that, or some other annoying condition. He also grants self and allies left and right magic range, only for one turn. Contrary to his massive combo range, this magic range change is actually very short. It's only to left and right, which is actually useful because it lets you selectively choose whether to give units magic or not. With combo, there's almost no reason you'd not want to give it globally, but with magic, you might not necessarily want to change an ally's range. So, for example, if you had some snipe range unit who wants to reach all the way into the back, you don't want to change them into magic. Or if you have some none unit who wants to miss constantly, or any unit who wants to miss constantly, you probably don't want them to change into magic, but you do want the combo probably. So the short range can be useful in that respect. Besides that, the magic weapon change is good for obvious reasons. It increases our allies' reach, either for killing more enemies, or just for hitting them in general for like debuffs, or like on hit effects for whatever. Okay, now his last few effects. While his HP is above 30% on move phase end, he will apply Madness to the entire enemy board. So, if it wasn't enough that he inflicted it on phase start, he will just inflict it constantly while his HP is high. So, essentially the enemy will never be able to move forward unless they have immunity or increased movement, or somehow reduce Nyarl's HP. So, yeah, that is pretty good for neutering short range enemies. I don't know what else to say about that. It's just that constantly preventing the enemy from moving without doing anything can be great. It's 90%, which kind of sucks, but it can be patched up with skill seeds, or his stupid glint, which he just has a stupid glint at an awful rate of 60% on attack. Like, I don't know why that's such an awful rate. Who cares?
It's probably just because it's now at magic range plus combo, so it sort of makes sense in that way.
I guess. But yes, the other part of that move phase end skill is if he is low health, as in but 10% or below, he will apply Madness to self and allies, and also apply a buff that gives times 8 damage while afflicted with Madness to self and all allies. Now, apparently, well, Harvey said this, but some people were clamoring about this, but I do not see it. So, the reason I think this is stupid is because of his other set of anti-synergy. He applies that Pazuzu buff that makes it so that debuffs kind of just fall off. So, okay, cool. He applies Madness to himself and his allies. and then he applies the damage buff, and then the madness has already fallen off 80% of the time, and now you have a 8 times damage buff that isn't actually active. So what? There's no synergy here. It doesn't work. That part of his kit works against itself as well. Well, 80% of the time. Also, having madness inflicted on your allies is potentially really bad. But in the event that you get to take advantage of the 8 times damage multiplier, it is like a ridiculously large damage multiplier, so I guess that's good. But it's only going to work 20% of the time. Do we talk about crit plus from Gambler in rosy terms or what? No, we don't. So I don't think this 20% chance to inflict 8 times damage is any good either. Now, you could wait for the Pazuzu debuff skill to fall off, but that requires you to wait 5 turns, so I guess you could just wait 5 turns too, and also have Nyarl floating at low health, which, like, being at 10% or below health, which is like 900 health for him, that's really dangerous. So, yeah, I don't get what's up with some of this man's kit. It's, I mean, I guess it's on brand for him to be doing weird things that seem pointless, but whatever. So his CS is the last part, and it's quite powerful for its unique effect. It deals 2 times damage against madness and heals allies around him for 1,200 HP. That can go up to 3,600 if he hits 3 units, which is a pretty high amount. But the real jewel is the unique buff. He bestows to himself and allies a buff that grants evasion turn start at 100% for 3 turns. I think this is really more like a 2-turn buff, since it will just tick down the next turn, but for those 2 turns, he and his allies have easy access to evasion, which is, I don't need to explain evasion and why it's good. The bestowal range is kind of short, unfortunately. It's only to adjacent, but the effect itself is powerful. So, you know, if you're planning around it, you'll probably have pre-positioned Nyarl for it with his gigantic Omni movement already. So, how would I describe Nyarl's positive points? He's a potentially powerful disabler because enemies will basically constantly have madness on them. And for short-range enemies, this is basically a death sentence for them, since they'll never be able to advance. Even if it's like magic range enemies, for example, if they're positioned at the back and you have like snipe range units, you can just kind of pick them off at your leisure. As long as Nyarl exists, it's a bit silly. He has a niche as a global combo range bestower, which no one else in the game can really match. Like I said, every other combo bestowal is short range or comes with its own like conditions to use. So yeah, Nyarl's combo bestowal is unmatched. And yeah, his ability to reposition the entire team is unrivaled. The only one who could really do it similar to him before was Sathogwa, but he could only do it on turn start, and then on fate when appearing, and was useless from then on. So yeah, not even comparable. I guess you could also consider some of the other units, like say Gabriel, who had like extremely increased horizontal movement, but none have as unrestricted movement as Nyarl. I guess the only downside to that is that it's only on phase start, but I don't think you should really need to do massive team shifts all the time. On phase start should really be enough for the most part. And he has debuff resistance and enemy buff denial. Now, I was kind of ragging on them for how anti-synergistic they are in his own kit, but if you ignore the madness thing, the debuff resistance basically has no downsides to it. It's the same as Pazuzu's debuff thing, like I said, which we talked about pretty positively.
Is it the exact same?
It's not the exact same, because
so
this one lost 5
them.
turns.
Oh my god.
No, you couldn't. Well, I guess you could, because then you would have a chance to remove debuffs twice, which makes it even less
How'd that
likely
even
debuffs
work?
would switch.
Wouldn't it like activate both at the same time, and then it's trying to remove a debuff that doesn't exist?
I don't know, you can test that and see if it crashes your game. But yes, I guess you could do that. I don't know if you, at that point, want to use another slot on Pazuzu for that. But yeah, it's just... I think Pazuzu's lost 4 turns and Nyarl's lost 5 turns, so they're different. And yeah, enemy buff denial, even if his combo gets in the way of it, you know, on turn 2 at least you'll remove another one. And another one. And do you know how the priority goes?
I think it just removes the most recent one, but don't go with that.
Well, if it does function that way, then combo likely wouldn't be removed, and I guess you're buffing the enemy slightly, which could be bad depending on what on-hit moves they have, but if they have any other buff, they'll maybe remove that first, if that's how it works. But either way, you know, the constant remove debuffs is nice, and you could always just remove the combo itself. It's just disappointing that, like, we have an enemy combo bestowal, but we're unlikely to really be able to take advantage of it. I think that kind of sucks. But yeah, that's all I have to say about him, really. I think he's fine. He has a lot of unique niche effects that are all fairly powerful in their own right, even if they don't necessarily jive well with themselves.
I don't know. I kind of like his kit a lot. He kind of brings like this new extreme level of utility in a lot of departments. He's like the fucking combo merchant with the board red combo, and he has probably the best debuff indication in the game because his thing lasts a turn longer than Pazuzu's, as well as having the best repositioning capability in the game as well. Because South fucking does it for like 1 turn at the start of the entire quest, but he just keeps doing it at the start of every phase, which can actually be very useful depending on what your farming setup looks like.
Like the drop quest from Jamboree, where they were like in different opposite sides of the map on each phase, kind of like that.
Yeah, I pretend I do not see that quest anymore. Yeah, I think his fucking madness at low health gimmick is kind of a nothing burger, because if this guy's at low health, then chances are the rest of your team probably isn't faring too well. And putting madness on everyone is probably going to end up being a downside more often than not. I thought about using him with like Summer Lay, but Summer Lay also like removes the debuff, so you won't be able to make use of the madness strengthening either. So yeah, he has a very limited team options for that stupid ass gimmick. I think the enemy buff removal is like a downer, but aside from that, yeah, he has a lot of like really good utility that I'd like to have, but I did not roll for him, unfortunately. I just got all the 4 stars, so I'll just have to be content for now.
I think it's better off just pretending that part doesn't exist with all madness stuff at low health, and the combo to enemies, maybe it's better off to just think of it as like a second phase if you're taking super long for some reason, which, you know, is entirely possible since Neural actually doesn't really have any damage source whatsoever. So that's his like charge, I guess, was 2 times madness. But yeah, if you happen to pass by the 5 turns, then combo to enemies and the madness strengthening would start to become relevant. It happened during some of my testing, but it was kind of like extremely scuffed because, you know, it did take that long. So and as Harvey said, and it seems like a lot of people agree, it's like it's kind of insane utility what this one has. And it's kind of funny how he sacrifices everything else, like, you know, defense and damage and like healing just for utility. That is actually relevant. And, you know, it's a bit hard to evaluate if utility units are good or not, but there are units like Boogeyman, who's proven to be like useful for farming even if they don't attack anyone, just because they pull everyone. And I feel like Nyarlathotep falls into that category of just like, if you're able to reposition everyone super easily and you have like combo at not a shit rate to everyone also, and you also have weapon change so that you can actually, you know, poke people in the back with it, and, you know, that weapon change also synergizes with people who have extremely low range but have powerful debuffs such as on footage, then like you have and you also have the flat damage effect too for 5,000, which when you double it is like 10,000 for every unit within the column, and even more within the center column towards Nyarlathotep. Which at that point it's like fucking Kurugane essentially. At that point, it's Kurugane again. Kurugane never dies. Well, at least in spirit.
Oh, I forgot to talk about that. The stupid. You started talking about the flat damage skill. I completely forgot to talk about that.
Well, yeah. If you attack twice, then it's literally just Kurugane, better than Kurugane even, and it's it's you just need like skill seed and it'll be fine. So
let me quickly say what that is. So yeah, when he moves in a 3x3, he applies 2 debuffs that make enemies take flat damage, 5k flat damage with combo. Obviously that synergizes. He's going to be doubling up on that with everyone who hits them, and with madness they deal half damage, so he's mitigating a decent amount of damage since they're basically guaranteed to have madness on them. So yeah, more utility there, defensive utility for the most part, but minor offensive utility, I guess.
Yeah, because of these effects, I can give specific examples of how he's good at farming despite not having a single reliable damage amp for earning coin at work, which is what coin scaffolds are now called. It's literally just throw him in, and then everyone does enough damage no matter what if they have their non-existent evasion, and they can just eat through it entirely and no trouble whatsoever. For combo,
but they all have to combo, and that takes longer.
True. Shit unit.
For combo, it's also useful for some couple relevant quests. There's the deprecated, but relevant at the time and might be relevant for those farming. The Mahakala quests, who takes multiple hits in order to actually be vulnerable by the third hit. So he's perfect for that, and he's also well suited for the Overlord quest, as we talked about. He does have evasion self, but then loses it after he's hit. So if you have that, then you can just start eating through a Mahakala very easily, and Overlord. And repositioning is also quite useful for example, against Ramu, and of course Overlord as well. But I talked about with Harvey and sometime earlier in the server that we're sharing that the Ramu Chapter 13 attack seed farm is kind of like essentially impossible to clear reliably in 3 turns without a board wiper, but Nyarlathotep might actually make it possible just because of his godlike movement that lets him position anyone everywhere, while also extending the range at the same time too. So it's definitely possible to not bring board wipers anymore, instead bring perfect puzzle pieces that fit every single board with Nyarlathotep existing. And besides that, he does have a unique challenge utility. It's not just for farming, he's also good for that evasion meme. It's fairly easy to have a setup to get his charge up every 3 turns. Just use Lianin or some shit like that, I don't know. And of course, Mahakala, for challenges where you're facing Mahakala or Shiva or Overlord or even Tuscali Pokesmere, as you see in this footage, combo is also well appreciated. So he does work best, of course, because he has no damage, but he offers so much utility. The rest of the units might as well be damage dealers at that point. They don't even need to be long range because he extends the range. And in particular, just like with Tautomaiti or with Shennong or with Miniaki, because he extends his range, he can also just inflict a shit ton of debilitating debuffs that are normally exclusive to low range units. So very potent in both challenges and in farming, but you do need to put your head to know how to use them.
Some dexterity and also intelligence required.
Yeah. I like him. I'm kind of sad I didn't get him. He's my original target, but after realizing how busted Michael is for the new Blossom Quest unlocked, I'm just like, yeah, I'm good, I guess.
But Gnarl's also busted there.
Yeah.
I had a thought, what was it? Oh yeah. I like using him with Kokopelli somewhat, just because everyone just gets another free roll on that Russian roulette.
Yeah, as this entire theme of this discussion has been, it's units that give combo or that would like a combo with their kit, fucking Kokopelli being the prime example of having got 30% on literally everyone. It's kind of funny that synergized, and then Baphomet just exists, which synergizes literally nothing ever.
She has
nothing. She has nothing. Just say it. She
give
has
her, give her combo to steal more CP. Yeah, there you go.
No, stop. Horrific shit. Well, yeah,
Does he have any
even...
good,
What's up?
does he have any good ARs to equip?
He's all around, so he can equip to the limit one, I guess. And I think there's also the Masashi one. That might be slash, but it might be all around. I forget. Which removes buffs after attacking.
Masashia.
Yeah, maybe I'm thinking of the fucking hero one. I don't know. One of them removes buffs. I don't really remember too much.
There is no Masashia.
There's a Masashi AR.
Masashi.
Oh, Musashi, sorry.
Oh, Musa. I thought you were saying. Well, were you saying Masashi?
Sorry, I just like their names aren't the same. Whatever. Who cares?
No.
I guess the Christina AR would be decent for that, like, concentration on the first turn.
If you want to guarantee things, I guess.
And he equips the Yasified Zap AR for extra healing.
That's only from low units, I think. But he has missionaries. Never mind. He can equip that. You're right. So.
Oh yeah, it's still a missionary. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Good call. Good call. He can use healing since he has no defense otherwise, and no attack. But very funny how this unit still manages to be very strong as a result. I'm using the word very a lot. My English has died. English teachers around the world would be crying right now.
Okay, is that it?
Yeah, that's it. Let's head on to the chat. Actually, I need to read the chat. Where are we at?
You.
It's not me again. It's Zalgus, I'm sorry. Sorry, I wrote the most notes for these units. I'm hyped up for that, okay? And also, I fucking talked about Baphomet and, like, drone pilot, okay? Give me a break. Jeez.
That's your fault for giving yourself those topics.
I just wanted you guys to have fun, okay? I care. I care.
I mean, I would have fun if I had less to write to. I mean, you can read out the comments if you want.
No, do it, that's fine.
The annoying hyena. Never thought Nyarl would become utility the unit. I mean, his original was mostly utility anyway, so...
Yeah, but it was all, like, thematic for madness shit, so...
It's...
He was more well known as, like, just a debuffer and shit.
I mean, I think it is thematic, his entire kit. Ignoring the actual utility in battle, his entire thing is, like, duplicating and clones, right? So, you obviously can have multiple Nyarlathoteps on the same battle, well, maybe two on your side, but still... I think the way they showcase it is just by doing combo. When you say combo, yeah, there's multiple people, and that's how you do it.
This game would be so good if it had, like, unique visual effects, but it doesn't, so we're just stuck with this...
yeah, it would be so good.
Slider.
I mean...
Like one that had no budget.
There's, like, a possible route to it. They could, like, just remove the extended effects entirely, just to keep it the permanent skip function. And then start modifying individual effects from there so they start looking a bit more unique than just the random shining lights for every single buff or debuff.
Too much work.
I was going to make a joke about Liver Hero, but I can't bother now. If Kirito wasn't being rerun, I would have pulled in this banner for Nyarl. I just used a ticket and got 3-star Sanzo and called it a day. Also, yes, I didn't get Kirito, so fuck my life.
Tragic.
Yeah, that sucks. Kirito would be nice for that global dazzle weakness. The guy whose power is used to make clones finally has an ult 8 years later. Has it really been 8 years? Jesus.
I mean, Duo's still waiting, so...
Well, hopefully we'll be waiting for a little while longer. Fucking Duo. Could you give enemies another buff for them to keep combo and all range? I mean, you could, but at that, do you really want to keep stacking buffs onto them? You could, like, what was it? Who was it that can do it? Claude, he can give them Berserk. I was going to make a joke about Baphomet giving them Rage, but she has to move to do that, so that's not a choice.
You can use Cheng Long for his Face Start Glint.
It's the turn order, it's going to remove combo anyways, yeah. I'm using Shenlong here, but it doesn't remove it. It's like, it's the combos removed first, right? Because it's applied last.
But yeah, so there is maybe a way to do it, but
it's not worth it. It's not worth it.
It's really not worth it. Like, because And also, you're just blocking the actual remove buff from happening, so it's dumb. It's okay, just wait 5 turns and get him to low enough health to trigger it reliably. Yes, that is a option, a bad option. I think if the madness strengthening also increased vertical movement, it wouldn't be quite as debilitating to yourself, but I mean, it's already hard enough to reach anyway, so whatever.
I mean, I like it just because it's thematic, because, you know, madness is an entire thing.
Well, I don't. Just pair him with Nightglow's Cthulhu or something. Why? Want to kill him?
They both have to move. That's like pretty ass.
I think the idea is to kill Nyarlathotep quickly by having Cthulhu blow him up.
By the way, you mentioned that you could keep them forever madness, but that's not entirely true. Just like other debuffs, you know, it runs out eventually, and then they'll have like 1 turn to move after properly before you have to reapply it. Which it will reapply, but that's how it works.
Oh, yeah, I guess.
But
phase end.
you could
It
like
should have been enemy phase start. Or
you could
enemy turn
paralyze
start.
everyone if you bring like fucking Isaac to just do the confusion on and combine it with madness. So there's that.
You could also just bring Juro.
That is true. I mean, he has madness too, not confusion.
Oh yeah, Skillyville. English Yeen. The idea of him zooming across the whole map seems fun enough. Lol. But it's nice to hear he's a solid unit considering how long people have been waiting for him. I prefer the idea of Seth Ogre teleporting, but that's just me.
I think it's funny how this, you know, unit or character that kind of defies common sense reasoning decided to pick the most non-common sense way of building a good unit. So I kind of like that, at least from a poetic standpoint.
Ara, keeping the stream running. Yes. Out. Is that our blue-head hyena is being useful in his weird way?
Yeah, probably. I don't know.
I wish skills have cool special effects. Sorry, those are all saved for Live a Hero.
Are they that special there?
So you
Special
did make it just about it.
They're not really that special, but say the CS effects are a lot better.
They really need to at least replace the CS effects because they're such shitty, like cookie cutter copy pastas.
Right, I need to
Boing.
check the CS animations for this batch.
Right, Nyarl should be interesting. I like Nyarl's voice acting. I forgot to mention that, but in this one, he's like one of he harmonizes with himself, which is extremely unique for our voice acting.
Will Baphomet's CS effect
cool.
have Big Booba?
Fuck Baphomet, not the way.
I hope not.
Yeah, good luck with collecting more footage for that, but let's just go ahead and close off this discussion since I think we are done. Anyway, so what do you guys think about this banner, and what do you guys also think about the upcoming guild affiliation update?
It's okay.
Yeah, I guess pull for the 5 stars if you like them. I threw like a multi for Jarl and didn't get him, so.
I like Michael's design, so I did like 12 tickets in a multi, and I did get him. But none of them like super strike me as must-haves, or and none of them are like my super favorites or anything. So it's kind of just whatever.
I thought that
Yeah.
too until I
This is
farmed chapter
like
14.
my least favorite banner in terms of like character design.
Oh,
I
right.
don't really care about anyone here.
Sanzo not doing it.
The only person that I would theoretically care about would be like Sanzo, but only because he's the Guru's Goldmaster. I don't really care about his actual character design. Oh right, we are getting that new Game Master AR soon, so.
Oh yeah, looks like he's dropping the spoilers here. The data mines. I haven't seen it, but it's just arts, whatever.
It's gonna be here in a week, and it's might as well get it over with.
Finally, Alice will have a AR to use.
We don't know what exactly the effect is going to be though, so that's the important part. So whatever.
Well, the important part actually is that it's fucking Game Masters, and there aren't any good Game Masters in the game besides like what, Beowulf.
Raven Arthur. Whoa.
Yeah.
Halloween
So
Alice.
if it's a good if it's an actually good effect with a good or a good booster, you might need to like use the new affiliation system and like change someone into the Game Masters Guild. So that
You could also use maybe 2-star mobs if those are allowed. For this
No,
one.
I think what Harvey's hinting at here is that if it's gonna be like a card EXP boosters that only the fucking Game Masters can equip, inevitably we're gonna have to like fucking move Dead or some shit like that into Game Masters in order to equip it to get the full card EXP bonus.
Yeah. It could also be that new guild currency that they were talking about.
I think it's gonna be
maybe
that, yeah.
Marvel. If that's the case, I'll probably use I'll probably like move Money Cat to Game Masters.
You know,
I
you
mean,
can still
'cause
move like Anvari or some shit to it, right? You can move
yeah, but
Anvari.
he's usually equipping like a Blossom booster or Rank EXP booster.
He doesn't. He can
Lucky
equip
Cat-
it natively. What are you talking about? If it's like gonna be, unless
Lucky
it's
Cat is like the most filler booster ever. So yeah.
Oh god.
And low cost, and they give 2% more coin. What more could you ask for?
Yeah,
True.
I've
It'll
been
probably be a
think-
free quest.
I've been thinking a lot about how to rearrange my teams, but that's just like all speculation until it ends here. I think I understand how it's going to turn out. It seems you can only switch 2 units into a single guild, but I'm not sure if that's 100% true. I really would like to see how it turns out. In any case, I think overall this campaign was it did have a lot of content, honestly, between the login campaign and the very generous amount of pickup banners, including the Chapter 14 ones, which were all really good except for Bigfoot, because fucking Bigfoot. And the Chapter 15 banner, which, despite it being kind of mid in terms of appearance, had some really powerful 5 stars, which are very impressive, in my opinion at least. And also, we're nearly about to get the Guild of Affiliation thing as well as a new booster. It really does seem to be one of the better campaigns you've ever had.
Yeah, but they keep stalling everything out, which is annoying.
I mean, it wouldn't be a campaign without stalling, right? It's like, by definition, they could have just released everything instantly, give it in a single
They
package.
should release everything instantly.
I'm already bored. Next content, please. Next banner.
To be honest, I'm already bored of the fucking next summer event, so...
Maybe we
true.
should just stay within this
boy.
campaign then instead. At least
Yeah.
you'll have
Honestly,
fun.
I'd rather be farming shit right now and, and not dealing with summer.
Well,
This is how I feel for every gacha, like, ever. Like, when I've had my fill of whatever the running event is and the banner, I'm like, okay, next units, please.
I too was you at one point, and then I started making YouTube content, and now there's just too much all the time, and I would rather have a break of nothing for a while.
You should have fucking delayed the stream, I'm telling you.
I delayed the video at least, but the stream definitely non-negotiably had to go as soon as possible so that everyone here could, get their jammies unwadded and actually figure out if it's good or not. So, overall verdict for this banner, pull or not pull?
Oh,
Are you asking us?
took me a
Yeah, you guys.
It took me a moment to parse what you said. Paul, I guess, like, I mean, Nyarl's utility
No,
is...
just overall, not specific units. Pull or no? It is very good. Pull. That's my thoughts.
I don't like any of them enough to say absolutely yes.
It's not absolute because it's really just the 5 stars there, but Sanzo's still good to have as an off shoot from 5s.
Yeah, pull if you like them, character design-wise, I guess.
So
Not that they're bad kit-wise, but like, Sanzo and Kokopelli are redeemable via anniversary tickets. And
I like
the
how you
5
exclude
stars.
Baphomet.
I mean, she's there, you know.
No, she's not. I pretend I do not see.
Okay, yeah. The 5 stars, yeah. If you're getting for a 5-star, good luck, because these rates are still fucking ass. And we do have summer coming up, so
All right.
yeah, do keep that in mind. I guess summer banners do reprint at the end of the year, and main quest banners are like fucking AWOL until the next campaign. But yeah, actually, yeah. Skip if you don't like the characters. That's my verdict.
Pull for looks. You heard it here, folks.
Yes.
As it should be for Housamo. Okay, thanks for your feedback. Okay, I think I'm just gonna go ahead and then skip the chat this time since it's just people saying bye and Renma. So it's fine. It's just like people saying bye. Okay, that's it for today's stream. Thank you for joining. The next piece of content that we'll be releasing won't be for a while for me, so it'll just be the video, but talking about exactly what we talked about here, but with fancy star ratings if you didn't understand any of the words we just said. That will be released sometime early in July. I'm waiting for the booster to release, and I'm also still working on the evaluation. So thank you for joining, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the stream. All right, on 3, everyone. 1, 2, 3. Bye.
Bye.